All right, welcome. It is Cutdown Day in the NFL. That's right. Sadly, it's a sad day for some. It's a happy day for others. It's an eventful day for everybody. And we're going to get into it. Sammy's in the house. We're going to break it all down. What the Niners did, what the league's doing, who got cut today, who you guys want to hear, who you guys want the Niners to sign out of the released players, put in waiver claims off the waiver players, the waiver wire players. That will all get decided within 24 hours. We want to hear from you. Let's go right now. We're going to do it. We're going to talk a little Niners. We're going to talk a little NFL. As I said, Sammy's here. We're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. Let's freaking go. Off and running Tuesday. When I worked in the Canadian Football League, I was the Turk. I was the guy who knocked on your door, said, hey, Kay Stevenson wants to see you. And bring your playbook.
Oof.
And the Kay Stevenson wants to see you is enough. Coach wants to see you and bring your playbook.
Couldn't we lose that part of it, Larry, at this point? Couldn't we? I mean, first of all, it's on a tablet probably, right? It's probably a digital link anyway. But I mean, even if they did keep the playbook, I mean, it's one of those things where I guess you're trying to that they wouldn't take a playbook to another team. I sort of understand that, but come on, there's got to be more decency in it than that.
Coach wants to see you and bring your tablet. Mm-hmm. There you go. Bring your tablet.
And wipe. Could we see your iPhone so we can wipe it on the way out? Oh my God!
Let our nerd touch base with your nerd, and we will part ways.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Krug Show on a Tuesday. It is August the 26th, the date that I've been waiting for a couple months now, really since the draft, because this is when it all gets pared down from, every team had 90 guys on their roster. It used to go 90, 75, 53. Now it just goes straight from 90 right to 53. It's a dramatic day across the league. Nearly 1,200 players will get pink slips today saying, goodbye, you're done. And the thing about it is some will go to the practice squad and be paid about $210,000, I think is the minimum on the practice squad. The league minimum is between $750,000 and $800,000 last I checked. So if you make the league, hey, that's what you're making. You're making roughly $800,000. If you don't make the league, you make the practice squad, $210,000, $215,000, that ain't bad either. Prorated weekly, I'm sure. And then there's going to be guys that wind up on the injured list, and there'll be guys who are on IR. And then there'll also be guys who will be plucked from one team to another. Maybe even some guys who get nice little bumps in salary because their situation improves. But then there's also going to be a group of guys who took off their uniforms yesterday at practice for the last time, and they ain't never going to play again. They ain't playing in the UFL, CFL, USFL, XFL. They're not playing. They're going to go be doctors, lawyers, insurance salesmen, entrepreneurs, whatever it is they're going to do. They're going to do it starting now. And so, first of all, I was the Turk in the Canadian League, and my job was to tell these guys, Coach wants to see you bring your playbook. And then I waited outside as they met with Coach, and then we trained about 90 minutes from the airport. And so I would get in a gigantic van and drive one or sometimes several.
Oh, you got to tell me about several when it was several. I mean, I don't know. I guess several is better, right? But Larry, for how awkward that can be, I would think several is better. Or are they so pissed and now they're kind of like banding together against you? That's rough.
I mean, they obviously, it was never personal against me. And these guys are, great guys. They never were like, F you, Krug.
Sure.
Sometimes guys, I'd ask them a question on the way to the airport, 90-minute drive to the airport.
That's a lot.
And sometimes they would just look at me and not answer, and that was fine. And a lot of times I would ask them, hey, and a lot of times the coaching staff actually had a line of questioning they wanted me to ask.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Like sort of an exit interview, right? Like, how was your experience?
Well, like they wanted me to know, like, what are your plans? Yeah, I am gonna be back. I'm gonna stay in shape. I'm gonna lift weights. This is not the last of me. I am going to. They wanted to know and then sometimes, I'll never forget one guy who's really pretty talented, and I'm driving him to the airport. I said, "Hey, man, you seem like you're in a pretty good mood back there." And he's like, "Oh yeah, man, this, I gave this the best I got. I've been playing football since I was, this high to a grasshopper, and I'm done playing, and it's time for me to move on." And I said, "Well, you know what? That sounds like a real healthy approach. Congratulations on playing. Hey, man, I used to always come up with a couple of things that I could say to the guys too that would make them feel better.
Sure.
Like I'd be like, hey, man, you're part of like 1% of the population that lives their dream and gets to play pro football. You had a chance. You went to a pro football camp. Don't let anybody ever point their finger at you or tell you didn't do it. You didn't make it. You made it, man. You made it. You made it to a pro football camp, and like 2% of athletes make it. Probably less than that. And then a lot of times guys would be like, yeah. But one guy said, I'm looking to get on with it. And I'm like,
wow.
I go, well, so what's the plan, man? What's the plan? Or is no plan? You going back to school? You got a job set up? And he's like, you know what? My grandfather owns an ostrich farm, and he's wanted me to run it for the last 3 or 4 years, and I've been too busy playing football to run it. It's very lucrative, and I'm going to run my old man's ostrich farm.
I mean, that's a nice option to have. I mean, it's random. I would say it would not be on my list, multiple choice, but that is a great one to fall back on. And he knew that. I mean, he had that ready to go for you. I mean, he absolutely knew that that's what he was going to do. I will say the most fascinating thing.
Can I tell you what I said to him when he told me that?
Yes, please.
I said, same here. And then we both laughed. Obviously, because the rarity of the ostrich farm. I'm like, me too.
That's amazing. So good. So there was some levity in it. My question is this, Larry. My question is this, and this is an important day, and we don't want to make light of it. I mean, this is dreams in some ways being shattered or altered or slightly guided in another direction.
Sammy, the chat is giving us a too loud.
Here, let's do this. We
don't have engineers.
Watch this. I think we can make this happen. All right, you can get in there. I can quiet myself. Here we go. Watch this. Watch. That's no good. I don't want to be a too loud guy. Here we go. Look at this. Better.
Guys, tell us when Sammy's good. Right there.
Oh, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Turn the volume down. Yes, too loud. Turn the volume down.
I got it way down here on my end, but you tell me, Larry.
I think you're probably pretty good.
All right. And again, let me know if it's still too loud.
Tommy Black says, turn the gain down.
That's good.
Turn the gain down?
I'm working on it. It looks like we're better now, right? I think we're in a better place. I would hate that. All right. Hurting my ears. Good. I'm glad. Way better. There we go. That's something. You know what? You're right, everybody. I just checked it out. There's something in the settings was off. So we've rectified.
That's all right. We're off.
And look, I appreciate it. And by the way, yeah, Niners worldwide, everyone else in the chat, hey, Sammy, coach wants to see you and bring your microphone. So Larry, I was going to say, now that I'm not blowing everybody's ears out, Hard Knocks has made this sort of famous. In other words, you were doing something that at the time was not well known, right? I mean, you were doing a job that I don't think people saw in the way that Hard Knocks brought it to life. I mean, essentially every Hard Knocks season, up until recently, I'll say the last 3 seasons, the last 3 years of Hard Knocks, they have been creative with what they're bringing you, and it hasn't been the same storyline. Hard Knocks for a long time, and admittedly it worked for them, it was a great storyline, was let's follow and find a player who's on the fringe, and throughout the course of this short Hard Knocks season, we will find out if he makes the team or not together, right? I mean, we'll find out. We'll go on the journey with him and then find out at the end whether he's cut or not. So there was a lot to that meeting. Coach wants to see you. I want to ask you this part, though, Larry, because I'm always fascinated when Coach says, we may see you again, or, I'm sure that we'll see you out there with someone else. There's a lot of that. And so I want to know, is there something to that? Are there guys that you say that to and then other guys that you don't? Are there guys that you're saying that where you really mean it, and then guys where maybe that's not the case? Here, I even turned it down a little more. That's I think that still is an interesting part of it. Are there guys that you're really, really connected to that you thought had a chance that the team really did want to keep, and then there's an honest part of that conversation, or is coach just spitting out the same exact speech to everyone? Because of course, Hard Knocks made it seem as if it was the same speech to everybody, and but are there guys where it really was difficult, and you were either hoping not to see him again because you knew that he would come back and kind of kick your ass, or were there guys that you really would bring back? Like, let's say a guy, kind of clears and then you get a chance to get him back on the practice squad or something. Are there those guys where you really are hoping to see them again back with your organization?
Yeah, I mean, there's different, feelings. I mean, some guys you're never going to see again and are camp bodies. Other guys are real, maybe just need to put on a couple extra pounds. There's an exit interview. They'll give you a breakdown. Hey, look, you just need to do this. We love you, but you need to do this. Or, hey, you know what? You got caught up in a numbers game here. You're good enough. We just have too many guys here. In fact, if we knew you were going to be there in the draft, we wouldn't assign these two guys and you'd still be here. So, they'll sometimes share things like that to motivate guys. And so it's always a little different. I mean, everybody handles it a little different. Let's jump into and check what the Niners have done thus far. Why don't we
there's
take a
some
look
fascinating.
at that?
There is some fascinating news around it, and you were real close to this, Larry. I'd love to hear what you think. If there were any shockers to you so far with the Niners, I'm a little more interested in what's going to be added now. But in regards to the subtractions, let me know that, and I'm gonna check the mic out here.
This is what we got here. This is what we got. Released or waived yesterday: Carter Bradley, Tanner Mordecai, Jalen Allen, Shaquille Brown, Keyshawn Vaughn. Vaughn was a camp body. Shaquille Brown had been signed like 3 days or 4 days earlier. He was obviously going to get cut. Jalen Allen was a UFL rusher who really looked pretty good and probably will find a way to somebody's practice squad because he's in good shape and he looks like he can bend the edge and he played pretty well, but he wasn't as good as Trevis Gibson and some of the other guys they have, so he got cut. Carter Bradley was waived injured and Tanner Mordecai was waived injured. That's interesting. They both suffered injuries in that preseason game. Looked like Bradley had an ankle. Mordecai had something. He was he was grimacing a little bit. I don't think either hurt significantly. I just think more than anything, and I've been talking about this for about a month, that I even though I like Mordecai and I think Bradley's got a big arm, the Niners, I think it was pretty clear we're going to go with two quarterbacks. So they went with Purdy and they went with Mac Jones. And then they're going to waive both. They did waive these guys. And now if they clear waivers, and I think they took two partly to get through camp, but partly to see who clears waivers and who doesn't. So if Bradley, whoever clears waivers will be re-signed to the practice squad, most likely out of these two, unless they're both claimed, of course, then the Niners will probably look for a practice squad quarterback who got cut elsewhere, and we'll go through some of those because DTR was cut by the Eagles. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I could see him being their third. Clayton Tune was cut by Arizona. I could see him being their third.
Desmond Ritter. Hayner from the Saints.
Hayner, who's a local guy. I mean, there's some of these guys would be viable number threes if I mean, my first choice would be Mordecai because I think he really played well. And I think Mordecai's got some juice. He's got a good arm. He's fast as hell. How many quarterbacks have 4.4 speed and a rocket for an arm? That's what Mordecai has. So, I mean, I know he's Tanner Mordecai and he's a nobody to a lot of people, but the guy had
not on this stream, by the way, not on this stream, Larry. You've been on Mordecai for a while, and I'm not going to say I'm shocked he was cut because what we were seeing was not necessarily that impressive. But I did think, based on what you said, I was a little more invested because you had said what you said, and so I was watching from that perspective to think, you know what, this is a guy that Larry saw something in. Let's see if my eyes tell me the same thing, and you've got a more trained eye in that way. But I was then surprised to see this. I feel like this is the kind of guy that they'd like to put back in the water and hope he ends up on their hook again. And three quarterbacks they're going to have a third quarterback. I mean, that's just the way teams roll. If you look, I mean, most teams end up in that spot, and certainly the Niners know what it's like to not have a healthy quarterback and then find a guy that you weren't expecting who really comes in and plays well. So that is an interesting one to me. And also, we'll get to it. I mean, the Browns quarterback situation is fascinating when you have a quarterback room that's that impressive. The Giants is another one that's really interesting as well. And with DeVito being cut, you can see that there was some real competition there. But The Niners, when I looked at that game, watching that Chargers game was fascinating. By the way, I was disappointed on the local broadcast. I was able to see both broadcasts over the course of the days, but when I saw the live one, since I'm in LA and you're in the Bay Area, Larry, I had the Chargers broadcasters instead of T-Rock. So I wasn't able to get
Matt Money Smith.
It would actually know that it was different. I think Money was still doing the radio. I don't think they had Money on the TV broadcast for that one. And so, and no, you know what it was? It was Noah Eagle and Fouts. So it wasn't like it was a bad. It was like CBS took it as a game, basically. CBS had it as a game. You know, it was one of their preseason games, basically. So It was Noah and it was Fouts, which is great. And I think Maggio was on the sideline for them. And so it was a good broadcast, but I was more interested. I felt like the Chargers from a roster standpoint were more clear with what they want to do this season. Whereas the Niners had real positions that I thought, all right, these some things are still up in the air. You know, the Chargers, it was more like, we know Najee's not going to play. Hampton's not really going to play, right? We're not like, there was just not a lot on the line there. I did like when Fouts called Heineken, by the way. That was a good moment. And by the way,
Trey Lance was terrible in that game, by the way.
But by the way, Ungalale, Larry, the DJ throw he made, DJU, as they like to call him, we'll stick to that today. The throw he made for the touchdown, was that unbelievable? I was thoroughly impressed with the DJ play to the back of the end zone. Was it 30 yards? I mean, it was like passing over numerous defenders' hands and right. I mean, I will just say that was impressive. But my point was going to be, as a Niners fan, there was a little bit of vomiting in your mouth watching that game. I mean, Marlowe Wax made millions of dollars in that game. Am I right? I mean, did he just destroy everything?
He is one of the guys I'm looking for today. We'll get into that as well. I mean, we'll get into that. But let's just finish up on the Niners. They released Tariq Owens today, Terrell Owens' son. They put Isaiah Prince on the IR, so he's out. They also have Trey Brown, Teron Jackson, Corey Kiner, Patrick Taylor, Trent Taylor, Trey Tomlinson, all on the IR. They reached an injury settlement with Andre Dillard, who basically got a nice big chunk of money for like 2 practices.
Former Eagle.
They've got Ayuk, Mustafa, and Rourke on the list. Ayuk and Mustafa on the PUP list, Rourke on the NFI list, and then suspended Isaac Alarcon. Believe it or not, the Niners international player was suspended, I believe, for 6 games for, I don't know, performance enhancer or something like that, I believe. I'm not sure. I think it was. And then it wasn't conduct or anything. And then Demarcus Robinson was suspended 3 games for violating the conduct policy. So there you go.
By the way, Larry, some big breaking news. Another cut that just happened out of Kansas City. Every one of Travis Kelce's girlfriends prior to Taylor Swift has been cut officially. They're engaged. It's real. So that is
wow. If I never hear about Kelce and his girl again, it would be too soon.
I will say this in many ways, as you know, Larry, not that it's not a beautiful thing, but in some ways now that they'll be, engaged and married, it almost gets less interesting for me, right? Like everything just kind of settles that. It's like a little more just settled at this point. But yeah, so think about the line of girls that had to go see Coach with their playbook right now. That was it. That's the end of it.
All right, so let's get to the Niner news because that's what everybody's here for. Everybody's here for the Niner news. The 49ers, according to Matt Barrows, are cutting Dallas Flowers. Now, this is a surprise. Now, for those, this one is a real shocker for me because I thought this guy was their 4th best corner. So what does that mean? Does that mean that they think Dallas Flowers will slip through waivers, but maybe Chase Lucas wouldn't? Are they going to try to put Flowers on their practice squad? Is Flowers hurt? I don't know. But Matt Barrows reporting the 49ers are cutting Dallas Flowers.
Wow.
That's interesting. Niners waived Tariq Owens, we mentioned before. And according to Mayoko, he's a strong candidate to return to the practice squad. I wish they would just quit it on this. I mean, this guy's not NFL. I mean, he's just not. He's not big. He's not that big. He's not that fast. He's not that strong. He's not that good. It's like, are we a pro football team or are we, some feel-good thing for ex-players? I mean, he's not that great. Tariq Owens, you're that intrigued by Tariq Owens? It's like, sometimes I wonder about the Niners. Okay, Tim Kawakami.
So I have a question, Larry.
The latest on.
Okay, yeah, give me that, and then I have a question because I want to go down the wide receiver rabbit hole here.
Okay, well let me just first get this out here.
Because there are now, just as fascinating as it is to see who the Niners have cut, the other team, like seeing who now becomes available. This is, I mean, for those of you that are going to have a fantasy draft in the next 2 days, this is essentially what's happening in the NFL right now. This is, if you're in a keeper league, this is how the fantasy draft starts right now as an NFL team. Basically, you're looking at, sort of the trash heap that the league has left you behind. And now you get to go pick through and see if there's a scrap, according to somebody else, that really can make a difference for you. And I do want to get into it eventually. I just think wide receiver, there are some fascinating wide receiver names eventually.
We'll get into it. Tim Kawakami says, sounds like there's still no resolution in the 49er Jauan Jennings situation. Wow. I don't think either side has ruled out anything. I don't think either side is happy. I mean, is this a report or is this just like his feelings on the situation? But the Niners leaking through Tim, as they are known to do, say that there is no resolution. That's what they want out there. Nothing's been ruled out. And neither side is happy. Great. Awesome.
So tell me this. Is the Robinson thing solved yet? Is DeMarcus, he's officially not playing week one? Or is that...
Well, no, he's been suspended for 3 games. It's upon appeal, right?
So it is on appeal, which means he starts week one if the appeal is not completed, correct?
I believe
that's how it goes, Larry. They'll
I don't
wait.
know if the appeal is going to be heard or if it's going to be one of those deals not until they go to New York.
Well, that's a huge part of this. When I look at the Niners roster, especially at that position, Robinson on the field or off week one changes the math dramatically. It changes the conversation around Jennings. I mean, you'd want Jennings and Robinson, of course, but if you don't have Robinson, now the Jennings thing is almost irresponsible to not have him there. How do you even feel? I mean, how would you just not run plays that don't involve Kittle? I mean, I don't even understand what you do at wide receiver at that point.
Well, you're going to have to come up with somebody. I mean, simple as that. I mean, they're going to have to come up with somebody. They're going to have to find, a couple wide receivers. Right now, the 49ers have 4 wide receivers. They have Ricky Pearsall. They have Sky Moore, Robbie Chosen, who seemed to put out on social media something yesterday that indicated that he's going to make the team, which if Robbie Chosen knows a day before the Cutdown that he's on the team, your wide receiver room officially sucks. I mean, seriously, when Robbie Chosen, who's just a total journeyman, been everywhere and back, is like knows the day before the Cutdowns that he's on the roster, your wide receivers officially suck. So Gage should be healthy. Sky Moore, Chosen, and Pearsall. Those are their 4 wide receivers. Bergen's garbage. Hodgins is practice squad at best. Cowing's glass and hurt. Turner's not NFL. Jordan Watkins is hurt. Jennings is holding out. Ayuk is hurt. So that's their situation. They have 4 healthy wide receivers. So they need to come up with at least 1, probably 2 wide receivers.
Well, do you want to start sifting through this?
Okay. Yeah, let's go through. We're going to go. We're going to keep track here. Just going to jot down some names as we go.
And as you go, by the way,
this is the roster tracker. So we're not going to cherry pick the thing. We're just going to go through it. And the official date is not until, or the official time is not till 1 o'clock. So
right.
Some teams, and there's a different philosophy. Some teams, if you've noticed, made their cuts 3 days ago and they have their entire list 3 days ago. Other teams aren't going to throw their list and they won't make it public until literally after the mandatory cut down because they have some philosophy on it. We don't want our guys sitting out there, being, let the league take less time to peruse the entire thing. So here's the roster tracker. We'll share the screen. Let's see. There we go. You got the roster tracker right there. And let's take a look at it. All right. Starts with Buffalo. And everybody's going to have a lot of names. I'm looking at these names. Buffalo. All right. The first name, Mike White. That's interesting. I don't see any names that I like, except for I like Laviska Shenault.
Yeah,
now,
of course.
Laviska Shenault had a 97-yard return against the Niners last year for Seattle. He's a running back. He's a wide receiver. He's a kick returner. And to me, this is a guy that makes a lot of sense because he is a wide receiver, running back, and kick returner. And you have shortages at running back and wide receiver, and you don't really know who your return guys are. So I think Chenault makes a lot of sense.
So Chenault is definitely one to put on the list, Larry. And by the way, I was going to ask you.
He was released. He was not waived. So they could sign him literally this minute.
By the way, what do you think about Sky Moore? I think that was more than expected, right? I mean, I understand, and excuse the pun, but I do think that was more than they expected from Sky. In that first, obviously, it was sort of a showcase because he had just gotten there, but
he was better than Bergen, but not very good.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he showed enough, and then they were putting him on special teams a ton. Also, I mean, he was returning punts.
Speed. He's got big hands. He looks pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, he's a keeper, but I don't think he's a difference maker. But I like him. I like him on the team. He's going to make it. He's going to be the return guy. They'll cut Bergen. At least they should cut Bergen.
Yes,
if they keep 2 return guys. They're really crazy. But just looking at Buffalo, I don't love Nelson Caesar. Not a bad defensive end. Zy Alexander, the corner from LSU, is interesting.
Yep.
Trey Herndon's a corner. Probably there's only 2 names here that I'm interested in. Laviska Shenault, and then Caden Davis is the Ole Miss kicker. Has a big leg. Top recruit, big leg. I think he was an A&M transfer. If Jake Moody whizzes down his leg, because the Niners are clearly going with Jake Moody, despite the fact that he's been incredibly shaky. And I love how they're like pretending not to notice. Like they're being asked about their incredibly shaky kicker, and they're like, "Yeah, we thought he had a good game."
Yeah, sure.
Stop. Just stop. I mean, it's like, can you stop gaslighting us we understand this is not just a kicker to you guys. This is like somebody's going to call your ass on the carpet and say, "What the fuck? Why did you draft a kicker in the 3rd round?" So I get it. We all get it at this point. Jake Moody is more than a kicker. He's like some kind of indictment on their drafting. So maybe if Jake Moody misses, maybe Lynch gets canned. Or maybe if Jake Moody misses, somebody in the front office who's yelling, "No, you guys are crazy. Don't draft this kicker." That guy gets promoted. But clearly the way they're reacting to Jake Moody's struggles, they're so unbelievably invested. It seems like more than just a 3rd round pick. It seems like somebody's going to be called on the carpet if they have to cut Jake Moody. I have no source on that, but it's just like they've given Jake Moody endless chances. He's incredibly shaky. They choose not to notice. It's like they're living in an alternate reality, and it's comical at this point. So those are the Buffalo cuts. Okay, let's go to Miami. Miami, do they have anybody interesting?
I didn't see anything.
Mike Hilton, who is the former Bengal, who's a slot corner, and he's a veteran slot corner, might be of interest. That would be the one from Miami. Let's go to New England. Ben Woolridge is a Pleasanton kid. I thought looked pretty good in the preseason, but he didn't make it. CJ Dupre was a really highly rated tight end from Alabama. He got cut. I thought that was interesting. Looking at the Patriots, Trey Avery, who was cut by the Niners earlier this summer, cut again by the Patriots. Isaiah Bolden. Okay, Marcus Epps. Wasn't Marcus Epps with the Eagles?
Yep.
A couple years ago?
He sure was. Yeah, sure was. Return kicks also.
Not a crazy fan of any of the Patriots cuts. To me, all kind of nothing there to speak of. I think
Polk was on there, and at first I thought it was the receiver Polk, and I thought it was something, but no, it's that. Yeah,
Jordan Polk, not Jalen Polk. All right, so let's go to the Jets. Okay, here we go. Adrian Martinez is an interesting quarterback to me. If
he has started in this league, I mean Martinez,
good at Nebraska. I liked Adrian Martinez. All right, Malachi Corley. Here is a guy that I've been talking about for about.
You like this guy? Yeah,
I've been talking about him for a while now. Why is this guy interesting? Because Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas, who were the regime that ran the Jets, drafted this guy in the 3rd round last year, not like years ago, last year. And not only that, if you add Corley, I believe you still get him on his rookie deal. So, because he's got more left on his rookie deal. So he's kind of a Debo type, but he's kind of a poor man's Debo. And he hasn't done it to this point with the Jets. But he definitely would be interested. I definitely would be interested in Malachi Corley.
Isn't Malachi the one who became famous on Halloween? Didn't he drop the ball before going into the end zone?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
He still has never scored a touchdown, and that's
brutal.
because he was on his way to scoring a touchdown, and he downed the ball at the 2.
He pulled the Deshaun Jackson, right? He before crossing the goal line, he threw the ball out of his hand, which is just hilarious. Wouldn't you want to go to sleep with that ball that night? First touchdown in the NFL, right? Take that one into the tunnel. I mean, just do not get rid of that ball.
And it's not like there's a million mistakes you can make. There's like 3 or 4 mistakes you can make, and that's one of them. And it's like so many guys have made that mistake. You would think that guys would know by now. My God, don't do that. The other name on this list,
and in that game, by the way, I just want to remind everyone, in that game, Garrett Wilson made arguably the catch of the season. That was also an unbelievable catch from Garrett Wilson, and I believe it was Texans Jets. I believe it was like the last bright spot for the Jets, if I remember correctly.
Jamin Davis was cut by the Jets. He's a linebacker who was a first-round pick by Washington, who's kind of moved to defensive end. I thought Robert Saleh brought him to the Jets. He might be an interesting guy for the Niners to look at. All right, let's move off of that. All right, let's go to the Ravens. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Eric DeCosta.
Yeah, they are holding this thing tight.
They're waiting till the end. Now, the Ravens are one of the teams I am looking for, and it's almost like they know that, because I want Chandler Martin. Chandler Martin is the linebacker from Memphis. I like Nick Martin and Chandler Martin in the draft. And the Niners got Nick Martin, and Nick Martin's been great. Well, Chandler Martin went undrafted, despite the fact that he came on my YouTube channel in the springtime before the draft. I love this kid. Absolutely love this kid. He's salt of the earth, high character, great player, and he had a great preseason. He really did. I mean, like 5 or 6 tackles in every game. He's sacking the quarterback. He's standing out on special teams. If Chandler Martin gets cut, the Niners have to go after him. Okay.
Did you see the other big Ravens news, by the way? Lamar Jackson was cut. Lamar Jackson actually plays for the Falcons, right? He's the cornerback with the Falcons. That was cute for a moment.
Yeah, MJ Devonshire is not bad, but these guys, I'm waiting for the real list. So the Ravens, I'm looking for the Ravens. Chandler Martin is the guy I'm looking for. All right, let's go down to the Bengals. Bengals cut some interesting guys here. Desmond Ridder, Peyton Thorne.
Before you move past Desmond Ridder, can we just look at that?
Are you a Desmond Ridder fan?
I'm not. I want to talk about the path that happens for a quarterback that is drafted as high as he was, with the expectations that they had for him in Atlanta, and then he gets a chance with the Raiders even again after that. I mean, to be cut outright when you're that far from being a starter, given the reins to start for a franchise. I mean, drafted in a position where you're going to compete for the job, you win the job, which was a little inspired by injury as well, but he gets the job and really gets 2 opportunities, and now technically this would be a third with Cincinnati, and cut. I think Desmond Ridder, he's going to be on a practice squad somewhere. I feel like Ridder will be somewhere, but is that it? That's it for, I don't know what you thought of Ridder on the way in.
I liked him, but he, to me, there's not a lot there. To me, he's not a great arm strength guy. He's not a mobility guy. He's not incredible accurate. He's just like mediocre across the board. I kind of like the other quarterback more.
Interesting.
Peyton Thorne, who was at Auburn. I interviewed Eugene Asante, the linebacker for Auburn, late in the year, and I said, "What do you think of Thorne?" He's like, because he's the son of a coach, he's super athletic, he can run, and he's like, "Yeah, we called," and this is what Eugene Asante said. We called him Vanilla Vic. I said, "Vanilla Vic? What?" He's like, "Yeah, Vanilla Michael Vick, because he was so fast."
That's a great
Vanilla Vic.
That's great. That's a good nickname.
Is that a nickname or what?
Yeah, that's got. I love that. He should love it too. If you're in the same sentence with Vic, you're doing something right. Period.
Yeah. Unless you have a dog, unless you have your torture.
True. Animal. If you're running a kennel, I wouldn't do that.
Running a kennel, that's not good. But the other name on this list for Cincinnati, once upon a time, Brian Tavin or Taven Bryan. Taven Bryan, Bryan was a number 1 pick out of Florida, of Jacksonville. So he was a first-round pick. That's interesting. He's on the beach. The other names on this list are pretty forgettable. McTelvin Agim, Played at NC State, inside guy. Stuber was at Michigan, offensive lineman. Some people might go for him, but I don't love any of the Bengals picks. All right, let's move to the Browns. They cut Tyler Huntley, who once upon a time was a Pro Bowl quarterback.
Well, yes, the way the Pro Bowl works. I mean, eventually enough guys drop out, and eventually Tyler Huntley was on that list. Yes, when he was backing up Lamar and got into a few games. But this is interesting. I want to look again. This is where wide receiver becomes really interesting. Deontay Johnson is just talk about having the talent. I mean, it's Deontay Johnson and George Pickens are interesting. I mean, I'm not going to say they're cut from the same cloth. I don't know enough about either guy to say that, but in regards to the path and where they are and the chances they've gotten, if Pickens causes an issue in Dallas, he's going to wind up on a list like this next season. And that'll be it for Pickens. And Deontay Johnson, now you'd have to assume with where he was with Pittsburgh, and then to go to Carolina and get flushed out and end up in Baltimore. And then remember, Larry, against the Eagles late in that game, they wanted Deontay Johnson in that game. And he refused to check into the game. I mean, what is going on?
I'm not interested. He's been on too many teams. There's too many teams, and if he was good, all these teams would have kept him. They're all moving off. Off.
I remember when Deontay Johnson going to Carolina was a big deal. I remember when that felt like something. And now, how far he has fallen. The Browns have just told you no thanks. That's a lot.
The only other name on here from this in the list that's interesting to me is Chigozie Anuzium, who played at Colorado State as a corner. He was in the Niners local pro day a couple years ago. He's a pretty athletic corner. He was at Cal for a while, and he's super athletic. He's a super athletic, big-bodied corner. So Chigozie Anuzium, I might have some interest in. Other than that, Darius Rush was good at South Carolina, but I don't really like him anymore.
Before you move off the Browns,
a little crazy.
Before you move off the Browns and the Tyler Huntley thing, this name isn't going to show up here because he wasn't released or cut. But Kenny Pickett traded. Let's spend a second talking about that.
Another guy who can't play, and everybody. I mean, I knew it in the draft. I never liked him in the draft, and it's like everybody just, sometimes it takes people a few stops and starts before they realize.
So Pickett, by the way, Larry. So Pickett now, now he's going to be, now he'll be with the Raiders. He'll back up Geno. We'll see if that, if he ends up making the field or not, because Aiden O'Connell's injured, and that was a good move for them to grab him now, to grab Pickett as a body. But I was surprised. I thought Pickett had the backup job locked up in Cleveland. We all did, because we didn't know what we'd get out of Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders. And that math has changed now significantly. You
thought Pickett was going to win that job? I didn't. I thought
no. Not that. I didn't think he was going to win the starting job. I thought he was solidified as the backup. Job. Yeah, I just thought he was the backup.
But I mean, they drafted Dylan Gabriel. They drafted Shedeur. Were they going to draft these guys and immediately cut them?
No, but to find out what you had.
Yeah, so I mean, I would say you had to think at least one of those guys makes it. And Flacco, they went to the playoffs with Flacco, right? So
2 seasons ago, which for Flacco is a lot of time to consider.
Yeah.
So he is, and I mean, just the idea that Flacco's playing 17 games. I mean, that's just it. Flacco's not going to play 17 games, so you have to know that your backup's going to start a game. And if they didn't know what they had in Gabriel or Shedeur at that point, Pickett made a lot of sense. So was Pickett injured? Did they just not see enough? And I know you don't really believe in him. You know who loves him? Terry Bradshaw.
Bradshaw's an idiot.
Terry was very upset when Pittsburgh moved on from him. He really thought he didn't get a fair shake, bad offensive line, etc. But I mean, he didn't quite. Although if you look,
doesn't throw a great ball. He's not that accurate. The Niners played him in Week 1 a couple of years ago. He was terrible.
Yeah,
Brock Purdy badly outplayed him. By the end of the game, the Steeler fans were rooting for the Niners.
And Tanner McKee. Yeah, Tanner McKee
clearly. The best personnel
clearly.
guy in the game is Howie Roseman, and he cut him loose. When the best personnel guy in the game cuts you loose, you suck. You're not good.
Although we will have a Howie Roseman comment later because of a cut. Yeah, they cut McCord, but also there's another cut on there that's interesting, tied to C.J. Gardner-Johnson. We can talk about that when we get there, Larry. But that's really interesting. Yeah, that's that.
We got a bunch to get to. All right, let's move through this. We got Steelers here. Okay, the Steelers are, once upon a time with Kevin Colbert, were a great personnel organization. Now it's Omar Khan. And I'm looking at their list. It's pretty uneventful. Lou Nichols. Okay. I don't see anybody I like.
Oh no, there's one. Come on, let's talk. I keep going back to this position, but I can't help it. We're talking about the Niners. Robert Woods. I mean, if you're in a spot week 1 without if Jauan and Robinson are not available, I mean, Robert Woods certainly can come in and run your routes.
Yeah,
Robert.
Yeah.
I mean, if you need,
I think he's 33. Here's the thing, Sammy. I'm about the future. I only look back if somebody's really worth looking back for. Most of the guys are not worth looking back for, and so I'd rather take a 6 foot, 193-pound guy who is 23 than take a guy who used to have something who's 33, because the guy who used to have something is also going to have opinions about, who should be playing and why and how he should be handled and how we should practice. And the Niners have veteran leadership. They don't need veteran leadership. They need talent. They have veteran leadership.
And I know Damon was dying. Damon was dying on the Keenan Allen hill, and obviously that didn't happen. And the other guy that will get, Amari Cooper got scooped by the Raiders. That was another guy I was considering. Woods is behind those two. If we're saying, the tier of 30-year-old wide receivers that you'd want to look at.
I'll write his name down. I'll write his name down just because he is a veteran wide receiver, and it could be a stopgap option. But I don't like that.
This to me is about the Demarcus Robinson suspension. Period. That's what this is about.
I'm looking at it wrong. Maybe Robert Woods is perfect, right? Because they're looking for a veteran. But, to me, this is an opportunity. And there's a lot of really good players with bright futures, not necessarily a guy with a past. But Robert Woods is an interesting name. The other interesting name here is Deshaun Jameson, who was cut by the Niners a couple years ago. He also has been cut a couple places, but he's a corner. If you're looking for a corner, a practice squad corner, Jameson's not bad. Mikey Victor also was one with HBCU school. Mikey Victor, really good HBCU star. So we'll see if he gets another look. I'd be interested in Victor, interested in Jameson, and I guess maybe a little interest in Woods if he was healthy and everything.
Well, and a guy you saw in the division, I mean, obviously his best years were with the Rams, so it's certainly a guy that's going to ring a bell.
I mean, we know who he is. It's not that. It's just that he's 33, and 33 is kind of old. All right, let's move to the Texans. J.J. Taylor went to University of Arizona, tiny little running back. Trent Brown, if you want a big offensive lineman, Trent Brown is a big offensive tackle. He's got a weight problem. He's always had a weight problem. He's an original Niner, I believe. He's been to New England. Cesario gave him a shot in Houston.
Someone's going to bring him in. That's
a massive.
That's an NFL. That's an NFL offensive lineman, without question.
Yeah,
that's a depth lineman for sure.
But I gotta, you wonder about what's he weighing and that kind of thing. All right, let's move to the Colts, and the Colts are another team.
Yeah, they're
Colts are an interesting team, and Chris Ballard is like, hey, we're going to play games.
Yeah, he's hanging out
all the way to the end. Let's move to Jelani Woods is a tight end, big tight end who's got decent hands. Let's move to Jacksonville. Chad Muma, who played at Wyoming, is a good young linebacker. Now, I don't think the Niners are going to sign him, but if you're one of these teams that needs a good young linebacker, this guy's definitely it. I mean, he can run, he can hit. Here he is. He's 6'3", 240, only 26, played at Wyoming. Pretty good hitter, pretty good linebacker. I don't know if he's a fit for the Niners, but Chad Muma is a pretty good player. And I think there definitely will be some waiver claims on him. Other than that, I don't see any names there. Joshua Cephas is better than Quintez Cephas. This is the guy who played at, I guess Texas San Antonio. Okay. But still, nothing special. I mean, I wouldn't say, oh, okay. Yeah. You got to have Josh Cephas. All right, let's move to Tennessee. Tennessee. Who does Tennessee have?
There's a new one on the list. I just want to add this. There's a new one there. And it's the position I keep talking about, though, Larry. But receiver Xavier Restrepo is also on that list now. Who's just cut.
Well, okay. Now that is an interesting list. That's an interesting name.
Yeah.
Xavier Restrepo went to Miami, and this is probably not a very popular cut with Cam Ward because this was Cam Ward's guy.
It was.
Now, this is a guy that I think the Niners ought to take a look at.
Yep.
Why? Because he's very, very polished. This guy is also he's young. He's ready to play now, but he's young. He's not very big and he's not very fast. So, that's the one thing. Sometimes you have to have a certain amount of size and speed to play in the NFL. And maybe Restrepo just doesn't have it because he's roughly 5'8", 5'9", and he didn't run a good 40 time.
You'd like to think
unbelievable ball skills.
Exactly.
If we called up his game log, in fact, I will here.
While you're looking for that, 69 passes, over 1,100 yards, and 11 touchdowns last season at Miami with Cam. So, and by the way, is he Cam or Cameron Ward? I don't know what we're going with yet, but
Cam Ward.
I know there was a lot of him wanting to avoid the Cam Newton there as well, but I really think that the Restrepo thing, you can look at it one of two ways. If he's not making it work with Cam at camp there, why would he be better with someone that he doesn't have that rapport with? But, we don't know the particulars. For your take on I'd rather see a young guy than a 30-year-old Robert Woods, this is the kind of guy you got to take a look at. Yeah. This is the kind of guy you got to take a look at.
Yeah.
This is, again,
you're right on the money on this one. Let me share the screen. I'll show you his game log, and everybody can see for themselves what we're talking about. This is his game log from Miami last year. Okay, if you can't see it, first game was August 31st against Florida. He had 7 catches for 112 yards and a touchdown. Next week, 4 catches for 104 yards. 2 weeks later, 6 catches for 99 yards and a touchdown. Against Ball State, he had 2 touchdowns, 3 catches, 47 yards. Vatek, 5 catches, 60 yards. Against Cal, 7 for 163.
Is that good?
Then he backed it up the next week against Louisville with 7 for 101 yards and a touchdown. Then he went against Duke. He had 8 for 146. And against Syracuse, he had 9 for 148. The guy had 11 touchdowns. And he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games with 99 or more receiving yards last year. This is what we're talking about. This guy is a very productive player. Now, 5'10", and he probably isn't even 5'10". It's probably more like 5'9". And if you type in, I don't have a screen available, Sammy, but if you could type in Xavier Restrepo 40 time, I think it's like 477 or something like that. It's not good.
But again, the kind of guy you'd want to look at. Just on paper, as we just ran through, you'd have to take a look here. And I just think that it was interesting. I'm glad it happened right as we were talking about him. It's good that we didn't have this conversation without that. So it's good. All right, I'm looking for a 40 time here. Let's see. All right, I'm getting it. No, that's not it. It's definitely not that one. Just came up. Okay, slow 40-yard dash. So this is the story that comes up is Restrepo offers explanation for slow 40-yard dash time at pro day. And by the way, if you're slow at a pro day, that's even worse. Because the stopwatch is in your favor massively. That is ridiculous. So consistently hitting. So he was hitting 4.53, 4.58, but that didn't happen. Didn't happen. So it ended up being, let's see. So it ended up being
like 4.7.
4.83. 4.83. Yikes. 4.83. So that's
awesome if you're a tackle.
Yep.
But if you're a receiver, that's like, you're being taped with a sundial.
But let's say this about size at receiver.
Wes
Welker. It's not. And again, Wes Welker, Amendola, Cooper Kupp. Right. This has changed what we think of receiver and sort of how you really need to look at that position. I've said this 100 times, Larry. When it comes down to receivers, I can't get out of my head these guys: Andre Johnson, Calvin Johnson, Terrell Owens, Randy Moss. When you're talking about size at that position. I do think that the most dominant guys at that position, AJ Brown, the big body receiver is still my favorite position to watch on the field. When you can dominate the other players at that position from us, but again, then there are guys, right? You're right. Then there's that in between, and Steve Smith does it. But it's really interesting to look at that, and I just think, I don't know, Restrepo's a guy. You definitely got to you got to take a look at Restrepo.
This guy's also interesting as well. Matt Landers, who played at Arkansas, was with Seattle for a while. 6'4", 200-pounders. To your point, he's a big-bodied guy. This guy runs in the 4.3s. So that's a guy to take to keep an eye on. All right, let's go back to our roster tracker.
The roster cutter.
Landers and Restrepo from Tennessee. All right, those are interesting wide receivers. Now let's move to Denver. Now Denver's an interesting team because Denver's got a lot of talent. We just saw Denver as well. Okay, so is there anybody there? I would say no. Out of this list, at least, I don't see anybody there from that Denver. Clay Webb, probably the best player there. Dwumfor was cut by the Niners last week and was cut by the Broncos this week. So nobody yet for Denver. But the last cuts are going to be interesting here.
And another thing, by the way, another thing to mention about Tennessee, I just want to go back in regards to the Restrepo thing. Remember this. So again, for those of you that play fantasy football, right? It happened. It just happened. On this list. No, it's because it just happened. But here, I want to remind everyone what happened. And here, the story is that they cut Cam Ward's favorite target, and that's and then of course that's Restrepo. But what I want to say about Tennessee is, for those that play fantasy football, this is the equivalent of being in a keeper league and deciding not to keep a guy because you want to see what the pool is. Remember that Tennessee, Larry, because it follows draft position for waiver position now. So when you're cutting players, you now have an extra slot to go and look at the entire pool that the league throws out you, and you get to be the first pick there. So the Titans really have an opportunity. The more that they're cutting guys is the more opportunity they have to go into the pool and pick other guys up, and they have the pick of the litter because they're number one on that waiver list. So it is interesting.
The waiver list is just the draft list.
It's right. It follows it exactly.
So the Niners have the 11th priority because they have the 11th pick in the draft. So whoever had the first pick has the first pick in the waiver process. Let's move down to pass. Let's go to Kansas City. Now, Kansas City, Brett Veach.
They're waiting.
He's waiting, but they do.
But an interesting name. Interesting name there, though.
I think Mike Edwards is a really interesting name. He's a safety. The 49ers may be able to use safety help. I liked him at Kentucky. I think he's interesting. You were going to say Bailey Zappi?
I just think Bailey Zappi's a name that we should recognize. I mean, this is a guy that, granted, if you love Mac Jones, where he is right now, obviously Zappi at some point was potentially better than Mac Jones. But Zappi's a guy that New England, Belichick believed in this guy for a while. This is a guy that had a chance to take over that job. Obviously, he didn't. Look where he is now. But Zappi's a guy that there were 2 weeks where we thought Bailey Zappi was going to be somebody, for sure. He was, that's not an organization that doesn't understand the quarterback position in New England. And they believed in Zappi for a while. And now this is where he finds himself. Did you ever see it with Bailey Zappi, Larry?
No.
Okay.
Didn't see it. Don't see it. Not that he's terrible, but I just don't think he's nothing special there. I do like Edwards. I think that's an interesting one. But I'm waiting for Kansas City too, because there's a receiver that Kansas City has named, now
bring up their depth chart real quick.
Yeah, it's the Florida receiver, Elijah Badger.
Yeah,
who I'm a big fan of. He's a Sacramento kid. He runs in the 4.4s. He only had 2 drops his last 2 years. He's got very good versatility. He's played the X, the Y, the slot. Me, he's Badger, had a good preseason. I like Badger a lot. I don't think he's going to make it. To me, that's the guy. It's on my list. I'm looking for. But let's move further down. Let's go to the Raiders. Raiders are a bad football team, right? But the Raiders are a bad football team, but they're also have been a bad handicapper of talent. So sometimes, even though they're a bad football team, occasionally they make bad decisions. So with their roster, and have they? Well, there's a couple guys here that I really kind of like. The offensive tackle, Gottlieb Ayadazi, is a Maryland kid who has got a lot of athleticism. And that's an interesting one. There's so few good offensive tackles that I would definitely be interested in him. The other guy is Andre Carter II, who played at Army. And I thought, he started with Minnesota. I thought he had a pretty good summer for the Raiders. The other one, I had Jauan Jennings on my show at the beginning before the draft. He's
by the way, is that Andre's son, by the way, Larry? Is that the Andre's son or no?
No.
Okay.
No. Not the former Niner.
That's what I'm talking. And Raider.
No. Yeah, no,
right.
not his son. Now, is this the Booker from Stanford that was just traded by the Eagles to?
Yes.
So the Raiders traded. See, now that's where the Raiders are just absolutely horseshit. The Raiders traded a good corner to the Eagles for Booker and then cut Booker. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, let me just get it up here for sure. I just want to follow the Tank Booker story real quick before we get
now,
too.
I don't. Real name? That's not his real name.
No.
It's something else.
Let's get it right.
But isn't that interesting? I mean, a lot of people were like, "Oh, Booker! Wow, the Raiders got something with Booker," and I'm like, "No, I saw him at Stanford. He's just a guy, nothing special, just a guy."
So Tank was SMU. Yeah, here we go. All right. Yeah, Booker is, let me get him on here. Tank.
Is that the Stanford? Is that Thomas Booker?
You might be thinking about that. Yeah. Tank Booker is, because Tank was.
Well, that's a guy the 49ers probably ought to look at. I mean,
Tank is SMU. Tank was SMU and so it's Tank. Yeah.
Did he start at Stanford? Wait, it can't be. Wait. Is Thomas Booker Tank Booker? That's what I want to know.
Okay, let's just do that. I mean,
Thomas Booker was at Stanford. He was the guy I thought that they just traded Jacorian Bennett for, right?
Right, that was the trade they made with the Eagles.
It was like a 4th round pick. They traded a 4th round corner for Thomas Booker.
Booker is Stanford, so that's no. So not the same guy.
Not the same guy. Okay. Not the same guy.
Not the same guy. So we're less. Okay, we're less outrage. Less outrage.
Less outrage. So let's move off of this. That's the Raiders. I had Daisy from Maryland, and I like Andre Carter. He's kind of a short-armed pass rusher, but he's very tall. But I thought he had a good enough preseason to make it. Okay, so those guys are kind of interesting. Let's go to the Chargers, because the Chargers have a lot of talent. Okay, here we go. Chargers have already got some interesting guys. Now, there's Brendan Rice, but I don't really like Brendan Rice the more I watched him. I just don't think he's got it. But this corner that they just cut, I absolutely love, and that's Trickweez Bridges. He runs in the 4.3s. He played at Florida. He's 6'3". He's a 6'3" corner who runs in the 4.3s. I would sign this guy. This is a guy that I would absolutely try to pick off waivers. Trickweez Bridges. Now, also,
this is Turquoise, right? This is our name. This is our favorite name, right?
I've been calling him Trickweez.
It's all right, but it's great either way. So it's an amazing name, Turquoise. Exactly. It's a good name.
Either way, the guy's an awesome athlete.
Yeah,
he's a crazy athlete. Des Fitzpatrick was a good receiver at Louisville, but he's kind of bounced around, doesn't run a great 40 time. Rice just didn't show a lot in the preseason, in my opinion. David Sharp was a Raider draft pick who's out of Florida, jumbo tackle. He's probably also worth writing his name down just because he's NFL. He's got an NFL body, but his attention to detail sucks. I think he had a bunch of penalties in the preseason, I believe. He jumps off, false starts, and there's a reason that he hasn't made it, despite the fact he's got almost prototypical size, strength, arm length, the whole deal. But
by the way, Tank Booker, just for those, Tank Booker is Anthony Booker, just for those that are looking for that.
Okay. But Trickweez Bridges is a great name for the Chargers. The guy that I'm waiting for the Chargers is Marlowe Wax.
First of all, there's no chance they're cutting him, Larry.
Every single, I went last night and looked at like 5 different Charger beat writers who pared the roster down. He does not make the roster.
How does he not make the roster after what he put on tape on Saturday?
I agree, which is why I'm so hot to trot on him. Marlowe.
First of all, he will be scooped immediately.
Oh, immediately, which is why I think, I would trade for him right now.
Dude, he's going to be a Titan. I mean, Tennessee would be foolish not to take. I mean, he could be the best player cut. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I've seen better tape on anybody. And I understand it's preseason, but Wax destroyed that game. He was the story of the game.
Amazing in the preseason. He was great in the preseason.
They love Wax. I mean, I heard because remember the broadcast I had was the CBS, so they were talking with Jauan Jennings during the game on the sideline. He mentioned Marlowe, and then while he was talking, of course, Marlowe then made 2 plays. It felt like a guy that internally they are high on. So I would be shocked if they didn't find a way. But if you're right, if not,
there's only so many linebackers, and here's their linebackers. They have great linebackers: Dayon Hentley, Denzel Perriman, Tuli Tuipulotu, Khalil Mack, Junior Colson. They love Kyle Kennard. They just drafted out of South Carolina. They love him. And they've got other guys here too. I mean, they've got Bud Dupree, Junior Colson, Troy Dye, who they brought in from Minnesota. I don't know. I mean, I agree with you. Marlowe Wax would absolutely be on my team, but I looked at every single projection, and Trickweeze, Bridges, and Marlowe Wax were not making their roster, which also tells me how great the roster is.
Yeah. I just would be stunned.
No joke.
I'd be stunned if Harbaugh doesn't hold them.
I'm looking for Marlowe Wax, but I like Trickweeze, Bridges. All right, let's move down the list. Now we're going to the NFC. Now we got Dallas. Okay. Lael Collins.
That stunned me when I saw it. I didn't know that was a possibility even.
Probably saving some money.
Yeah, of course. But he's been such, when you talk about, and I know it wasn't last year's strength, but when you talk about the strength of the offensive line for the Cowboys, his name is always brought up. So he's been a
good player for a long time. He might be out of shape. He might be hurt. He's played a while, but that's interesting. It might be cap related. But Lael Collins is definitely an NFL offensive tackle. Let's move to the Giants. Tommy DeVito. I'm not a Tommy DeVito fan, but Greg Dulcich was one of the leading receivers, both with Denver in the preseason and with the New York Giants in the preseason. And I think Dulcich is going to be absolutely picked up.
Yeah, at the very least, blocking tight end there. That's an interesting one. Now, in New York, you're not a DeVito guy. That came down to DeVito or Winston, as far as I could tell. And either would have been sort of a sad story, and Winston would have gotten a job immediately. Does DeVito get a job here? Did you see enough out of Tommy DeVito?
I don't think he's very good, but maybe as a backup somewhere. I think he probably re-signs with the Giants as the practice squad quarterback. That would be my guess.
I mean, they've got
very popular.
And by the way, Dart, how thoroughly impressed were you with Jackson Dart? And I already told you I was so high on Dart because I didn't like, it wasn't that the Giants selected him, it's that the Rams wanted to. That's why I was so hard on him. The fact that the Rams wanted him because there was doubt with the Rams about Matthew Stafford. Obviously the age, but they told him to go look for a new job, and then they wanted to draft Jackson Dart. And as soon as the Giants traded back in and took Dart, the Rams traded out of the first round because that was their guy. And the Giants swooped in right ahead of him. Dart could be the story of the preseason.
Yeah, he's been really good. But, once again, let's pump the brakes. This is the same preseason that saw the Chiefs go winless. This is the same preseason that's watching the Giants go undefeated. It's the preseason.
By the way, there's a number. I want to just say this. There's a number. The past 7 teams that led the preseason in point differential.
Right.
6 made the playoffs and 2 won the Super Bowl.
Wow.
And the Giants are that team. All right. So just I look, take with it what you will.
Wait, I got to write that down.
Okay. It's okay. Let me get it. I just sent my cousin.
Make sure it's right. The last what?
Okay. So let me get it right. I just sent it to my cousin. All right. My cousin Joe is and he's watching us right now. He's a huge Giants fan. Here's the number. Okay. So the Giants are the 8th team since 2009 to finish with the number 1 point differential or plus 60 or more. Point differential. So there's a point differential of plus 60 or more. They are now the 8th team since 2009 to have a point differential in the preseason of plus 60 or more. Of those 8, they're now the 8th. 6 made the playoffs. 2 won the Super Bowl. And those 7 teams' average win total is 11.1.
Wow. Break up the Giants.
Well, think about this. If you do believe in Dart, all of a sudden, Carter's a slam dunk. Everything, right? I mean, I gave you the grades. I think CBS gave out grades for each first rounder through the preseason. They did it week 1, week 2, week 3, and then they did a final grade on what you saw in the preseason from the rookies. And obviously with the Niners, there was nothing to look at, so that sucked. But Carter was a runaway A, and so was Dart. And again, that's not saying a ton. We knew Carter was going to come in. But if Neighbors, Carter, and Dart are something, tough division, of course, but starting to heal the Saquon Barkley wounds, if that works out at all. If you've got 3 stalwarts at those positions, that's pretty nice.
That's interesting. Giants defense is great. I mean, their defense up front, their defensive line is really good. All right, enough on the Giants. Let's talk. I mean, seriously, let's talk about the Eagles here. Let's move to the Eagles. They have a very interesting list. They may have one of the best rosters. Now, I love Giles Jackson. He was the wide receiver from Freedom High School in Antioch. He played at Washington, and he had a good year. He's a small guy. He was at the Niners local pro day before the draft. He's small. He's a small slot receiver, but he's a playmaker. Real good playmaker. I like Giles Jackson. He runs 4.4. Then there's Louis Cine, who's been a bust in a couple spots, but once upon a time, he was really good in the SEC. Aeneas Smith was great at A&M. Dorian Thompson-Robinson from UCLA. Kyle McCord was cut from Syracuse. What do you make of that one?
So,
are you surprised? They traded in the 11th hour. They have Tanner McKee. The Eagles are the only team that sat their number 2 quarterback, not wanting to get him hurt. They sat McKee at times, and they have Hurts. So you have Hurts and McKee, and I thought McCord was just going to slide in as number 3, but then they traded for Sam Howell.
So this was really interesting, Larry. This is one of those where you think preseason games don't matter. So in camp at practice, great stories coming out really on both guys. DTR had a slow start. He wasn't even picking it up early, but then the story came out that he was getting it. Go to the preseason games on both these guys. Ugly. Absolutely ugly. Absolutely 2 games on each of these. And McCord was given a hell of a chance in their final preseason game against the Jets. It wasn't there. It just wasn't there. McCord was throwing balls that, you call them sort of catchable balls or interceptable balls, not necessarily intercepted, but ones that could have been. McCord was all over that. He was throwing the ball in places that you just, as an NFL quarterback, you cannot do. So this is one of those where, and again, this is the beauty as a GM. You said it earlier when we started the stream. Are you sticking to the idea that you drafted somebody and you don't want to admit that you're wrong, or are you quick to get off it before you're holding on to something that you don't need? And that's the case here. They're so in love with McKee that obviously they traded Pickett away. So they knew they had that in McKee. So the fact they feel so short up there, but they also know that they could need a third quarterback, and neither of these guys blew them away, and they had an opportunity to get Howell. And that's it. And because Howie stockpiles draft picks, Larry, when you look at these Eagles moves over the years, double check, read the fine print. Are they picking up more draft picks than they're giving away? Because that's what Howie likes to do. He holds those for exactly these moments. I can go get a Sam Howell without having to trade a player or anything that significant, but I've got draft picks to give away in exchange. And that's what they do. They stockpile so that they can make a move like this. And now Howell, who obviously started within the division with Washington, they know they've got a guy if they had to. And remember, the Eagles had to start their 3rd string quarterback this past season. Tanner McKee is a guy, and over the years they have.
It's interesting.
So that's just. I mean, I know you liked McCord, and I did too. But
Papa loves him.
Yes.
Papa's a good picture with him.
It's great. But there's another move here though. There's another one before we move on from Philly. The move here that is really surprising is the Eagles moved on from the player that they got from Houston in the CJ Gardner-Johnson trade. Okay, he's not on here right now. Let me bring up the name, but it's the lineman. So when Mekhi Becton signed with the Chargers, then they knew they probably weren't going to overpay for Mekhi Becton, but they then had a competition. They wanted more on the offensive line because Mekhi was now signing with the Chargers. And what they did is, because of that, they brought in the lineman who was a high draft pick with Houston. He was supposed to be, and he never really panned out there the way that he was supposed to. In certainly not in Houston, and the CJ Gardner-Johnson thing just bothers me. But Kenyon Green is the player that they got in that trade. Okay. And
gigantic guard.
He's a guy who looks the part in every way, Larry. And at the time, this was one of those, Harry's smarter. This is one of those where it's, Howie's smarter than everybody. Because for Eagles fans, it's impossible to tell an Eagles fan that CJ Gardner-Johnson doesn't make your team better. And here's why. Just follow me quickly on the CJ Gardner-Johnson path. 2022, this team goes to the Super Bowl, and the defense is historic. Now, granted, they were historic on the defensive line. They had the most sacks in the history of the league, basically. And of course, they didn't sack Mahomes at all in that game and lost. But going into that game, the Eagles had a historic defense, and CJ Gardner-Johnson was a tremendous part of it in the secondary. Of course, James Bradbury made the play of the game and the holding in the end zone. But what ends up happening the next season is Gardner-Johnson is not with the team. And remember that team fell off a cliff defensively. 2023 was a very forgettable season for the Eagles, and Gardner-Johnson wasn't there. Then they get him back in 2024, and they have the number one defense in the league for many other reasons other than Gardner-Johnson. But he's one of these locker room, set the tone kind of guys.
Well, no, he's a great player. He's just a prick. He's a great player,
and he's good. Yeah, and he's good. Look, he's good for two negative. He's good for two negative 15-yard plays a season for sure. He's going to get you two.
He's a cheap shot artist, dirty player, but he's a great player, and I loved him in Florida. I wanted the Niners to draft him. I think they took Mitch Wishnowsky a couple picks in front of him.
Yep.
It was really bad, and he's floated around. You're right. He was in Philly. They were good. He went to Detroit. They were good. He went back to Philly. They were good. And now he gets moved again because nobody likes him. But
exactly.
Yeah,
but Houston's going to love him.
Green.
Yeah.
Kenyon Green was supposed to plug in at guard. He hasn't, and now he's cut.
And that's a big move. So that's surprising.
Strong guard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's out there. If somebody wants a big, strong guard, Kenyon Green's out there. But you know what? Now having whiffed in two spots, he's not the blooms off his rose. All right, let's go to Washington for a second. Sam
Interesting
Hartman,
here.
Cut. Michael Gallup, who's not the same player as he used to be, cut. Nick Harris, the center, I don't think is bad. I don't love the rest of those picks. KJ Osborne was in Minnesota. Washington, there was talk. The guy I was looking for on this list was Nick Allegretti, because there was talk that Washington was going to cut the versatile offensive lineman who they signed as a veteran free agent last year, but they've kept him up to this point. So Hartman got absolutely drilled by somebody in the preseason. I forget who it was, but he just got smoked. I mean, Sam Hartman really took a big hit. But nobody of interest there to me on this list. I mean, Michael Gallup, I guess, but I don't.
Can I throw one at you that the Bay Area is going to remember well?
Go ahead.
It just happened. Clelin Ferrell.
Clelin Ferrell makes sense. Now that's a name. Now he's slow. And the Raiders, Mike Mayock. This was
the famous Mayock draft pick. Yeah.
Pick in the draft, which
Clemson. I mean, this was one of those where they sort of knocked Mayock for just taking a guy who was on a championship caliber roster.
It's an awful pick. You can't take a guy in the fourth pick in the draft who has no traits at all just because he was on a winner. I mean, Mayock, he might as well have just quit right then. I mean, that was just an embarrassing. You blow the fourth pick in the draft on a low-end guy because of his leadership capabilities. It's like, dude, you're the worst evaluator that's ever walked the planet. So, yeah. So that's interesting, though, because Clelin Ferrell is a veteran. He's good against the run. Would the Niners want to pick up a guy like Clelin Ferrell? He's definitely would be on a list that they would be looking at. All right, let's go to the next page here with the Bears. I think this is an interesting name. I'm a big fan of Austin Reed, the quarterback for the Bears. I liked him at Western Kentucky. This was Malachi Corley's quarterback in college, and I just like Austin Reed. I kind of believe I've told you before that I like Badgett. Badgett I think is going to take that job away from Caleb at some point. Badgett has played amazing in this preseason, so there's real no need for Reed. But this list is very interesting, and why? Because if you go further down this list, Zach Pickens.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Pickens, I think, was the Bears' second-round pick or maybe third-round pick out of South Carolina. And he's a big defensive tackle who's got a lot of talent. That one surprised me. Now, that is surprising. Power Eccles, linebacker from North Carolina. That's interesting. Xavier Carlton, a lineman from Cal. That's kind of interesting. Trey Flowers, who's been around the block a little bit. Major Burns played at LSU, safety. There's a lot of interesting guys here, but to me, the most interesting would be Zach Pickens.
And you like Reed, and you like Reed. Freeman, I could see Freeman. I could see Freeman on a roster, but it might be, again, that position's so weird, right? Are we 2 years away from where Freeman really mattered?
Yeah, Zach Pickens is probably the guy there that I would look at, because he was a really pretty intriguing prospect coming out, and I don't think he's hurt. So I know they got a bunch of guys at his position. Maybe it's just a numbers game, but that's a guy I'd be interested in. All right, let's look at Detroit. They cut Hendon Hooker. Now look at this. They're waiting. I mean, unless it's come down here in the last few seconds.
I don't have anything fresh on Detroit at the moment. And
they gave up on Hendon Hooker.
And that maybe, good for Kyle Allen, a great guy, by the way. Kyle Allen, if you've ever, I chatted with him a couple of years ago when he was in Washington, and what a great dude. Kyle Allen's a great dude. And in that Hall of Fame game, in a Hall of Fame game, he threw an interception, and I thought, maybe, could be bad news for Kyle, but in the end, it's Hooker who they cut loose, and Kyle's going to be there, which is great. But what did you ever think of Hendon Hooker?
I didn't like him. I mean, he was at Tennessee. I mean, he was a good college player, but I just didn't see the mechanics, the arm strength, the mobility. I didn't, to me, it's a skill set that's just lacking. So I didn't like him. I thought he was overdrafted. I'm not surprised that they cut him. I thought Detroit. In fact, we talked about this.
You were worried about Detroit. We did the quarterback rooms, and you were most worried about Detroit. Yeah.
Yeah, I said if Goff goes down, they're fucked because this guy was their backup. I don't know. They must have got somebody else, right? Who's their other?
I'm going to look at their depth chart real quick. So Kyle Allen's the guy that I think right now would be their backup, and I'm just going to see if there's anyone we're forgetting about
if that's true, then they are screwed. I mean,
it is. That's all they have right now. That's all that's listed. Goff and Kyle Allen. So that's not.
If Goff goes down, they're done. They're absolutely done. And Goff is not the most mobile guy, and their offensive line is not the same line as it was. And
he got hit hard in that. Remember, he almost had to come out of the divisional game. He got hit hard.
Right. So
hit hard on the interception return.
That right there makes me want to. If I was in a casino, I wouldn't want to bet Detroit just simply because of that. So we don't know who Detroit's going to cut, but that's interesting that they went with Hendon Hooker. Let's move to Green Bay. Green Bay is an interesting one. Now, this quarterback I really like. This is Taylor Elgersma, who played for Laurier in Canada. He played 12-man football, and he's a big, athletic, somewhat raw quarterback prospect. He's interesting, though. And I wonder if somebody will try to pick him off because now you got to pick him off. You got to put him at number 2. But if I was Detroit, I would. Like if I'm looking at Green Bay with Taylor Elgersma there, I would say, hey, you know what? We'll put Taylor Elgersma as our backup, and we'll go with him. So if I was Detroit, anybody who doesn't have a good backup should want Taylor Elgersma because he's got a real talent, a lot of talent there. They also cut McCole Hardman. A lot of people were speculating which receiver. Would Romeo Doubs be traded? Still a lot of speculation on that. We'll see how it all shakes out at 1:00. But McCole Hardman is one. Obviously, I keep going to receiver here because I'm thinking about the Niners. And McCole Hardman's a guy you got to kick the tires on. McCole Hardman. That's again, this is not a guy that is aged to the point where you wouldn't want to take a look. He had moments and splashes with Patrick Mahomes. For those of us that play fantasy football on a waiver wire, there were many weeks when you were thinking McCole Hardman could make a difference for you, and he has that potential. No question. And you know what? If you're the Niners, the one thing that the Andy Reid would use McCole Hardman on the goal line against the Niners, all kinds of trick plays, and he's got great speed. He's always had great speed. This would be a guy, if I were the 49ers, I'd be interested in. This guy can run. Is he great? No, but he's a veteran who's in his prime. He's not old. He's not too young, and he can run gadget plays. He's been in a high volume offense in Kansas City with Reid. Good programs, Kansas City, Green Bay. Yeah, McCole Hardman would be on the short list. All right, let's move to Minnesota. Logan Brown is an interesting one, and Leroy Watson. Logan Brown and Leroy Watson, they're offensive tackles. Logan Brown, I think, went to Kansas. Leroy Brown, the Niners used to have, and or Leroy Watson, I should say. Leroy Watson, the Niners had. Logan Brown went to Kansas. They're both offensive linemen. and offensive linemen are really hard to find. Good tackles are really hard to find. So I definitely would be interested in Logan Brown and Leroy Watson. But other than that, looking at their lists, no. I mean, it's not an intriguing list after that. I would say those are the two guys from Minnesota. Let's look at the Falcons. Easton Stick.
By the way, quickly, I just want to go back to Green Bay. Did you mention Isaiah Simmons?
No,
who showed promise, right? I mean, Isaiah Simmons wasn't he drafted? Was he a first rounder, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, he was a first rounder. He's always been this guy with the measurables who didn't have production. But you know what? I'm really surprised by Green Bay cutting him. If you looked at one of their preseason games, he led them in tackles.
Yeah,
he had a great preseason. The question is, what is he? Is he a safety? Is he an outside linebacker? Is he a stack backer? Is he a pass rusher? So Niners
that's a name. I think he's going to end up on a roster. I'd imagine he's someone that there's clear upside with.
Yeah, so that's an interesting name for sure. All right, let's go to that's Minnesota. It's a long list. Nobody great there. Let's go to Falcons. Falcons have Easton Stick. It's an interesting name. Ronnie Perkins, the pass rusher.
Do you remember Ben DiNucci, by the way? He made a very famous Sunday night start for the Cowboys. This was 2020, I believe. It was COVID season. But DiNucci had a moment where the Cowboys said, let's give him a shot.
Don't love this list. Don't see anybody there that I'm like, gotta have. Ronnie Perkins is not bad. He played at Oklahoma. You mentioned Lamar Jackson got cut. There it is.
Yeah, big news, everybody. Big news. Big news.
Don't see anybody in Atlanta. Let's go to Carolina. Now, Carolina's got some interesting guys. I like Imani Bailey. Imani Bailey played running back he played at TCU. He's super fast. In the first preseason game for Carolina, he averaged 7 yards a carry. This guy was on Kansas City's practice squad. He's very, very explosive. I'm intrigued by him because one thing Shanahan loves in his running backs is pure speed. And the one thing that Bailey has is he is gone. I mean, like 2 steps and he is gone. So that is a really interesting name to me. The other interesting names, I kind of like Bryce Perkins. He was with the Rams. He's a backup quarterback. He played at Virginia. He had a decent preseason. I think he's interesting. And then the other guy, Luke Kandra, who I believe is offensive lineman, played at Cincinnati. He's interesting. Matthew Wright, the kicker, who the Niners brought in last year when Moody went down, and then he was perfect. Then they cut him. They went back to Moody, and Moody missed 2 field goals first week back. He got cut, so he's out there if you want Matthew Wright. Guess we could write that name down. And Mello Dotson's an interesting one as well. He's a 6'4" corner who played at Kansas. Oh, I know what the one I was going to say is that the Atlanta Falcons supposedly cut Kobe Bryant, who's a corner who played with Mello Dotson at Kansas. And Kobe Bryant is a good corner, and they cut him. For whatever reason, he's not on this list, but I saw that on Twitter earlier.
All right, before we move to another team, Larry, big news, not big, but interesting. And at this position, always interesting. But the Chargers just announced another release. I brought him up earlier because I thought he was incredibly impressive in that Niners game. But DJU, quarterback DJU, who I thought on tape, and you got to consider the competition, but on tape, what he did on Saturday against the Niners, I thought DJU looked like a quarterback who can play in this league. Period. Point blank. I mean, DJU looked like someone. Yeah.
At Clemson, moved around a little bit, but
it didn't happen for him at Clemson. But remember, when guys, and Larry, this is interesting for you, when guys are at that 5-star elite level where they are recruited in high school to the point where they get their pick of where they want to go when the whole world is waiting with bated breath for where they're going to choose to go to college. I mean, DJU was that guy at quarterback. And then it doesn't happen at the next level. And, you would think at Clemson, I mean, remember at Clemson, it was like he was pushing, it was like Dabo couldn't wait. They had DJU, like they were set to be just dynastic. And then it didn't happen. And it was shocking that it didn't happen there because he obviously had talent all around him. What happens? Is a guy like that going to find that again? Is this going to be one of those where we tell the story that, okay, it didn't happen in college, but it happened in high school and then it happens in the NFL?
Well,
on Saturday, it looked like it.
Yeah, I mean, he's a big guy with a good arm, pretty athletic. If you continue improving, some guys top out. They never continue improving. If you do continue, he looks like a guy that might, be the kind of guy that slips through the cracks. The Saints cut Jake Hayner, who, Julie Hayner, who's an anchor here in the Bay Area. Her son played at Fresno State. The Saints also cut Donovan Peoples-Jones. Jasheen Davis is an edge rusher who's not bad. DeMarco Jackson's a linebacker who's not bad. Saints have one of the worst rosters, but definitely Cam Akers. What do you think of Cam Akers?
So in LA here, the Cam Akers story is wild. So Sean McVay and Cam Akers had a great run. I mean, that offense ran beautifully through Cam Akers, and then there was a contract dispute, and I don't know if something was said. I don't know why that relationship was so fractured, but all of a sudden the Rams just let him go. I mean, it was one of those where, we're going to sign him in camp, et cetera. And then it was just like, you know what? We can replace you, dude. And by the way, they certainly have. The Rams are not looking back on Cam Akers. And Cam Akers came in, I can't remember, was it Houston last year? Where did Akers show up in the middle of last season? Then he actually showed a flash here and there. I would be surprised if Akers doesn't make a roster, but he had an opportunity in LA to be a part of this team, which people right now have as sort of a sexy NFC champion pick for this season. And obviously Kyron Williams, they found their guy. There's no looking back now, but Cam Akers had a chance to be the running back for the Rams in a team that runs and schemes very well. And he blew that up, whether it was just the contract dispute or if there was more there to that relationship fraying the way that it did. Cam Akers blew his career up with that.
Yeah. Well,
not quite as bad as Le'Veon Bell, with his horrible holdout, which obviously he was never the same, but Cam Akers in many ways was never the same.
Some guys get bad advice. Here's Tampa. They cut Kyle Trask. Now, Raheem Jarrett, I think, is definitely a guy the 49ers ought to sign. The wide receiver from Maryland. And then Desmond Watson is the anti-tush push. He's the 464-pound nose guard. And I really believe if you're Dallas, if you're the Giants, if you're, Washington, if you're going up against Philly twice a year, you should want the anti-tush push. But he is obese. He's 100 pounds overweight. He didn't play in a single game. They just put him in. They basically just made him, exercise all summer. And he's obese, but he's the historically heavy guy, right? He is the heaviest player. Yeah, he's the heaviest player in the league over some years, even. I mean, it wasn't just for this season, but he's the heaviest guy the league has seen in quite some time. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's the biggest guy there is. But, people, were like, hey, some people were like, is this the guy you said could play fullback? I'm like, no. That's Willie Lampkin. Willie Lampkin can play fullback. This guy, though, I mean, it makes sense. The tush push is not like, ooh, Howie is so smart. It's a force play. It's a play about force. So if you're going to beat a play that's all about force, you're not going to do it with ingenuity. You're going to do it with force. So
look at the NFC Championship.
You're not going to beat force by being like, you're not going to beat the tush push with some choreographed defensive scheme. We're going to have the linebacker run here. We're going to have drop this guy. We're going to move that guy. We're going to put this guy here. He's going to come off the side. No. None of it's going to work. All right.
Look at what Washington tried. Look at what Washington tried.
Taking a big, huge, gigantic guy, putting him right in the hole and just saying, whether it be Trent Brown or an offensive tackle, Mekhi Becton or whatever, go put some gigantic body on the nose and don't let him tush push. I mean, the thing about the tush push is that we know there's very few plays in the NFL where what the play is and where it's going. You might know it's going to be a run, but you don't know where it's going to be a run at. You might know it's going to be a pass. You don't know where the pass is going. In the tush push, it's going to be an A-gap rush by the quarterback with with a lot of push behind it. All right, get your 465-pound guy on the nose, have him come out of his stance, and blow it up. I mean, it's like it should be the easiest play to defend of all time, and it's NFL teams are acting like it's incredibly difficult because it's about force.
There's two things.
Have the body.
Yeah,
most teams don't have that body.
There's two things that work in its favor. You mentioned all the reasons that the tush push should be. You're right. I mean, you know when it's coming. You know where it's going. You know who the ball's going to, and more times than not, it's going behind Landon Dickerson. So you also know specifically within the line, even where it's going. You know which player to follow. The difference is, and I think this makes a big difference, it's the snap count and the cadence that helps that play a lot, right? The offense knows when the ball is going to be snapped and the defense doesn't. And that millisecond is what makes the difference many times. And what you'll notice, Larry, is it is about force, but it's also about crease. Do you ever notice that there's even times when Jalen gets that play, the push is not even necessary from behind? They find a crease for him to get into, to kind of slip under. And it's really, it is, I don't want to say it's genius, but it works. It's certainly successful and consistent that way. And you saw Washington, you talked about it. You're not going to be able to kind of scheme this thing up. Washington in the NFC Championship, they tried it, right? They sent Luvu over the top 6 times.
Not going to work.
It didn't work. It just didn't work.
It doesn't work. I mean, Fred Warner could do that, but then you're risking concussions, head-to-head, all the stuff. Yeah, this guy's the anti-tush push, and then just like grow the roster, put him on your practice squad. If you play the Eagles in a big game, put this guy in there, activate him. There's all kinds of guys you don't use. Use this guy. I think it'd be worth it, but it would take somebody with some vision. All right, let's look at the NFC West. The Cardinals cut Clayton Tune, and I kind of like Clayton Tune. He's an athletic, smart quarterback. He played at Houston. Been in Arizona for a few years. McClendon Curtis is an offensive lineman who the Raiders had, who's a pretty good offensive lineman, a big offensive tackle. He's moved around a couple spots. He's interesting. I'd be interested in him. Darren Hall, the San Diego State corner, who, has been basically a nickel back, but he's kind of an interesting guy too, because he can play. He's a big enough body to play safety, but he's got coverage skills, so he might be one of those guys that could transition from corner to safety. Those are the guys that stand out to me: Tune, McClendon Curtis, and Darren Hall.
And by the way, if you need a tight end, Cardenas is also a guy who's made some plays in this league.
Really?
And he was behind. Yeah, and think about it. I mean, at tight end, Arizona is set. They've got McBride. And they're set for a decade at that position. And so Cardenas was going to have a hard time. He clearly wasn't going to be the starter. He was never in play for that, but he's a guy that's been on the field that has made plays for them. Cardenas is a guy, if you're looking for a tight end, to keep your eye on.
Let's go to the Rams. The Rams have an interesting list. The Rams are an interesting team. Les Snead's a really good GM. They have, what's the orange designation next to these players? What does that mean?
That's interesting. And let's take a look here.
Do you see? Does it say what?
Yeah, I see it. I see it. It doesn't say what it is. And yeah, when you go to it, is there anything? That's. It looks like. I don't know why. It's a lot. It's asking. I think you can get more information. It's like an insider thing. I think that's what it is. Yeah, and this is they got more.
So I'm looking at the Rams list. Mario Williams played at USC. I've been talking about this guy for 6 months. Mario Williams. He transferred to Tulane. He had 17 career touchdowns. He does nothing but score touchdowns. He runs in the 4.4s. He's not very big, but this guy, sure enough, preseason game number 2 against Dallas, Bennett throws for 300 yards, and he hits this guy for a 38-yard bomb down the middle for a touchdown. Last year, the Rams took Cody Schrader off the Niners and kept him all year. I would pay the Rams back. This is the guy that I want. Mario Williams, the receiver. This guy is a rookie, but he's ready to play right now. And the Rams, for whatever reason, aren't keeping him on their roster, but he made plays in the preseason. I saw the Rams games in the preseason. This guy made plays. I kind of like Anthony Torres as well, the tight end from Toledo. We had him on the Krug show leading into the draft. If you guys remember our conversation with Anthony, really good guy, a little bit older prospect, had some injuries. He's more of a developmental practice squad guy, but Mario Williams is an outstanding rookie receiver. I think the Rams made a mistake here by putting this guy on the waiver wire.
Well, this is really this is more about what they have at that position. As I just mentioned with the Cardinals and tight end, that was going to be tough to crack. And the Rams at this point, from a wide receiver standpoint, I mean, again, this is a team that told Cooper Kupp to walk. So they were obviously feeling pretty good about their receivers, and they are. Right now, I mean, they're set. I mean, depth behind it, I don't know. But when you look at tandems in this league, obviously the Rams are set at wide receiver. So anyone they cut at that position means it was going to be tough for them to make the roster anyway. So it's worth that second look. And you mentioned that last year you had these teams not exactly trading, but a guy that doesn't make the roster somewhere ends up somewhere else. And within division, that's great. And he'll love that. He'll have a chip about the Rams letting him go as well, especially because he did put on tape for them what should have said. If this was Hard Knocks Rams and we were watching Mario every week, we'd be stunned that he was cut.
Niners have made more cuts. Stone Blanton cut, according to the Chronicle. Derek Canteen cut. Dallas Flowers cut. Tariq Owens cut. And Jeff Wilson Jr. cut by the 49ers. Now, I'm a little surprised by the Wilson cut.
That's Brian Robinson, right? I mean, that's just because Brian's there.
I predicted this. I mean, I shouldn't say I'm surprised. I predicted this last night that Wilson would get cut. Why? Because Jeff Wilson was out on the street all off season. Anybody could have had him. Every team in the league that thought about signing Jeff Wilson has already thought about it and considered it. I watched him in practice. In practice, he fell down 5 times. Oof. Generally, that tells me the guy's legs are shot. Okay. And it obviously tells the 49ers the same thing. But then he looked good in the game. And I started to think, okay, maybe Jeff Wilson can make this roster. But then when I started looking at the roster cut down, it really came down to, do you want to cut Jordan James or do you want to cut Jeff Wilson? And who's more likely to get through waivers? So I had the Niners going with 5 running backs. Juice. Here's the 5 running backs. It was Juice. Let me double check here. Obviously, Brian Robinson, McCaffrey, those 3. So I had the Niners going with
Garendo. You're forgetting Garendo.
McCaffrey, Robinson, Garendo, Juszczyk, and Jordan James.
Yeah.
And then cutting Jeff Wilson. Why? Because Jordan James is going to get picked up and Jeff Wilson isn't. So now you can put Jeff Wilson on the practice squad because nobody's going to pick him up. So
this was an obvious one to me.
Yeah.
Once Robinson came over, that was, I mean, and by the way, I sent you and I were looking at a wide receiver tandem list, or I was, and I want your opinion on it. But the running back tandem list, I wondered, the Niners now would lead a running back tandem list for sure. You're talking about the best 1-2 punch at running back in this league. I mean, Detroit's going to get a lot of votes at 1, of course, but
Montgomery and Gibbs.
Yeah, but that's,
I think the Chargers, when they have Amari on
Hampton and Najee. Yeah.
Well, who's their other back? Don't they have another back?
Yeah, they do. And we saw a lot of him on Saturday, but Najee's obviously the guy that's going to get in there if his eye is okay.
Yeah, but no, they got another guy I think that's even better than Najee. Najee might be done at this point. I mean,
Vidal. Obviously, Vidal is a guy that they like a lot too.
Vidal.
Yep.
Oh no, Raheem Sanders.
Yep.
Dude, Raheem Sanders is the guy to get. If you're a Charger, if you're playing fantasy, go get Raheem Sanders. Why?
That's a great point.
Because first of all, this is going to be one of the NFL's better running teams. They're going to run no matter what. They're going to run behind a really good line. Harbaugh loves to run. Najee's got injuries. Vidal is decent. Hampton's a rookie. They got Hassan Haskins as well, but they ran in the game Naheem Miller-Hines.
Yeah, a lot of them.
But Raheem Sanders is 6 feet, 225 pounds, and fast. So he is your fantasy sleeper for those of you who play fantasy. But that's
the other name on here that I want to just look at is by the way. So Andre Dillard is another guy, Larry, that just is fascinating to me from where he was. I mean, this is another number 1 overall pick who had plenty of promise. Eagles drafted him. I mean, we thought it drafted him in a position that they are very good at. They have an excellent coach in Stoutland on the offensive line, and Dillard could never, he just never stood out in that group. And I was surprised. I thought a change of scenery. I thought he was a classic candidate for change of scenery and then figuring it out. And here it is, not happening again.
I wonder how much the guy loves football. He's a good pass blocker, but he sucks as a run blocker. So, I mean, if you're a team like the Niners that wants to run the ball a lot, Dillard probably wasn't going to be a good choice. I mean, they blew it. The Niners blew it. They had DJ Humphries. They agreed to a deal, and then they backed out of it, and he went another place over money, I'm sure. And then they said, "Well, screw it. We'll just go with Dillard. Dillard can't play dead." Now got hurt, basically played a couple practices. So they got nothing. They got Burford and they got Pleasance, and Burford and Pleasance aren't good. So they're in a real world of hurt if they lose a tackle. All right, let's look at Seattle. Seattle hasn't done anything. Seattle's got Jarek Reed here. That's it.
Yeah,
that's it for Seattle. There's no other list that says that Seattle's made cuts.
There's nothing that I see here. Yeah.
We're an hour and 12 minutes away from the Cutdown. So teams like Seattle, John Schneider's playing his cards close to the vest. He hasn't announced who he's going to cut. All right, so there you go.
One more, Larry, just one more for a sexy team in a sexy position. But Deuce Vaughn, the running back in Dallas, is cut.
Which is hilarious because he was a great player at K-State.
Yeah.
His dad is a scout for the Cowboys. They made a huge to-do about adding this guy, and it was like, I was laughing when I saw it because I'm like, does anybody know that this guy's like 5'5"? I mean, this is a small, tiny back. Dallas didn't even have good backs. And that guy's like 5'5".
Look, and you don't love that you do not love that room for the running backs in Dallas, and I keep trying. Oh, look, I think Moody has been cut, by the way. That's interesting. But I was going to say Jadon Blue is a guy that the Cowboys fell in love with this preseason, and you had said that was really their only chance.
Yeah, but by the way, Jeff Wilson released by the Niners. I don't know if.
And are we getting confirmation on the Moody thing? By the way,
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, this might he might be cut. Let's see. I can't imagine. I mean, I'm seeing it in the comments. I just want to make sure that I don't know. That seems.
No,
wild.
He's not cut.
Yeah.
The Dolphins are signing Rasul Douglas. The 49ers 49ers were interested in Rasul Douglas, but Miami offered more money and a bigger role. So that's interesting. So the Niners are looking for corners. Here's a name that I didn't realize. The Chiefs have cut offensive lineman Esapole, who played at Wazoo. I like Esapole. He's an offensive tackle. That's a good one. You know who else got released today by the Panthers? Hunter Renfrow.
Oh.
Would the Niners be interested in Hunter Renfrow?
Interesting.
What do you think of that name?
I like Renfrow, and I saw him. I was watching the Panthers broadcast over the weekend, and they were talking to Hunter on the sideline, and I thought, oh, he's in street clothes at this point, and they're excited to have him on the team. And I remember Renfrow in that standout season with the Raiders, and there was a good joke because there was also Hunter Renfrow was pitching for the Rays or something, right? Or Renfrow was there were two Hunter Renfrows, one in Major League Baseball, one in the NFL. But Renfrow, when he was with the Raiders, there was a moment. Again, there was that flash, Larry, but as far as a consistent upside receiver in this league, I'm not sure Renfro's that guy.
Let's talk about the Niners for a second. I think when you look at this list, I mean, Carter Bradley, Tanner Mordecai, Nate Sudfeld, all cut. Amir Abdullah, Corey Kiner, Keyshawn Vaughn, Equanimous St. Brown, Tariq Owens, Andre Dillard, Isaiah Prince, Jalen Allen, Shaquille Brown, Damone Harris, Kevon Seymour. I don't think I ever saw Kevon Seymour. And when you look at some of these names and you're sitting there going, okay, why did they cut Dallas Flowers? Well, a lot of people are like, oh, Luter sucks. The Niners can't keep getting rid of their young, talented corners because they're not quite perfect. That's what happened with Sam Womack. People are like, Womack is not good. He's not good. Cut him loose. He's now been starting the last 2 years for the Indianapolis Colts. The 49ers could not keep cutting good corners. Darrell Luter is a good corner, and he's a big, good corner. And all these Niner fans are like, oh, they're going to cut Luter. Krug, you're totally wrong on Luter. He sucks. I'm like, no, Luter is good. Luter has got press man experience. He hasn't played a lot, but coach him up. So I really like the fact that they kept Luter. Now, they kept Chase Lucas as well over Dallas Flowers. But I like the idea of keeping the younger guys. This is build your football team. Stop going, 2 years ago, it's like, got to have Isaiah Oliver. Last year, oh my God, Isaac Yadam, Rock Ya-Sin. And you're casting aside younger DBs that weren't as good as those guys because they need to be coached up. And it's like, coach them up. So I like the fact that they didn't cut Luter. And I really like that for the.
But the cornerback is really like your bullpen. It's the most consistent. The best analogy I can make that cornerback is really like your bullpen. It's your middle relief bullpen in this league, and it means there's a lot of guys that aren't going to be standout names that make a huge difference throughout your season at cornerback, and it's going to change throughout the season. It's very unlikely that you're going to fall in love with two cornerbacks all season. You're going to have guys that are in and out that make huge plays and that are called on to make huge plays. And most fans hate their cornerbacks. Why? Because you're watching your cornerbacks when there is a big touchdown for the other team. That's who you're watching trail the play as your cornerback. So then you go, oh, this guy, because your cornerback's not necessarily standing out. It's not the cornerback in this league is
like one of the things I've kept hearing about Luter is he's like, some people be like, I haven't seen him all summer. That's
what you want. That's what you want.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Also, some of the times he's been, he's given up plays. He's right there. I mean, it's not like every pass completed against you shows that you're a shitty corner.
No.
If you're right there and the guy threads the needle, guess what? You tip your cap and you're like, hey, that guy gets paid as well. If some quarterback can put it in some tiny freaking window and you're right there and it just gets right beyond your fingers, that's good coverage. That's good coverage. So just a thing to remember. All right, let's talk a little bit about some of these other factors here. One of the things that came up yesterday was, we mentioned that the Raiders, there were some cuts yesterday as well. Audric Estime from Denver, I thought was an interesting one. Dan
Skipper was another one that was surprising with the Lions, the offensive lineman.
But let's talk about the Raiders shopping. There's two trades that might become the Niners' way. One is the Raiders are shopping Jacoby Myers in a trade. And the Niners were interested in Jacoby Myers. And they have this thing going with JJ. I think the JJ thing is done. I really do, because I don't think they can satisfy. They're not going to rip up his contract, and he's not going to bypass free agency. So they're at an impasse. So now you're at a contractual impasse with a guy who hasn't practiced in a month and who is spouting negativity on his social media. And last year you had a player kind of go AWOL on you in your own locker room in Devondre Campbell and partly ruined your chemistry. It didn't really ruin your chemistry because nobody listens to Devondre Campbell. He had to pull in the room. He was just a fool in the room, screaming and swearing and acting unprofessional. And then I said it like 3 weeks before he went totally that was bananas.
So bizarre. Yeah.
Before he went bananas, I said, this guy has to be gotten out of the room. You got to get this guy out of the room. He's the wrong personality type to deal with this. It's like everybody knew Greenlaw was going to, return and be the starter. Everybody except for him. Everybody except for Devondre Campbell. So he went south on the Niners. I get the feeling that Jennings has more pull in the room. It'll be a bigger distraction. So if unless you're going to pay Jennings, to me, you got three options. You can pay him, you can ignore him and hope he acts.
Well, that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough.
Or you can trade him. Those are your three options. Pay him, ignore him, trade him.
Are there enough guys that you could stockpile?
They can't pay him, and they can't ignore him. So I think you got to trade him. And the Raiders, look at the Raiders right now. What are the Raiders going to do this year? They got a crappy quarterback, but they have a great running back, and they're going to try to run the heck out of the football. Well, if you're going to try to run the heck out of the football and who do you want? You want Jauan Jennings because he might be the best run blocking wide receiver in the game. So if I were the Niners, I would call and say, hey, here's Jauan Jennings and something else. And, send Jacoby Myers on over. And if you can grow the deal to include a Michael Mayer, great. Oof. All the better. Sounds like they may want to move him. If you could grow the deal and include another receiver, Trey Tucker, where you got, JJ and a pick for Trey Tucker and Jacoby Myers, something like that. Because the Niners need multiple receivers. They really do. But those are your options. So, Sammy, what do you want to do? He's a very powerful presence. I'll tell you right now. He's loud. He's a presence. If he's pissed, it's not like it was going to go unnoticed. It's going to cast a pall on the entire room. So you can either break precedent or set a bad precedent and rip up a contract. You can try to get him to sign beyond this year, but I don't think that's futile. There's no way Rosenhaus is bypassing the big payday in March. Or, you can ignore him and just hope it all goes away. But as Billy Beane once said, hope is not a strategy. Or you can trade him. So what do you want to do?
I'm a Jauan Jennings. I'm the person that stands on this hill and says, make it happen for Jauan Jennings. And I've said that. I've stuck with that. I feel like Purdy and Jennings have a real connection, although Purdy and Pearsall looked good in the preseason as well. And not that you don't need more than one receiver with a connection with your quarterback, but I think that Jennings already has it established based on the guys that were missing last season over the course of the season. Jennings really found it with Purdy. That's something you should capitalize on. I always tend to be a glass half full when it comes to contractual issues during training camp, because more often than not, Larry, what happens? These guys get signed and we never hear about it again. And I want to remind everyone, as much as Jennings could be, let's say, a quote, we'll use that word, cancer, money changes that conversation quickly. If he feels that he has been done right, whatever we decide that number is, and right now you and I don't have to land on that number. If Jennings decides that his number is right, then that ends it. He's now a happier, different person. And is that enough? And I've said it numerous times. The guy that fucked this whole thing up is Higgins in Cincinnati. You know, you're a number 2 getting paid close to number 1. And now everybody just throws the scales off dramatically. But again, Higgins is a different kind of number 2. And of course, it helps to have Jamar Chase on the other side. But forget about that conversation. You just stick with the Niners. You can collect as many guys as you want, but Jennings could be a difference maker at that position. And I don't think any of the guys we brought up can be. I don't think Jacoby Myers is a different. Now, granted, what Jacoby Myers, what did he lead the league? What was it? Jacoby Myers, I think, led the league in led the league in a positive way in drops, right? Did he go the whole season without a drop? I think Jacoby Myers technically, right? Yeah.
Pass. You know, here's the thing though. What if I told? I mean, that the only fault with your approach is you're not factoring in the rest of the room. He's not the only guy in this situation. Your starting right tackle is Colton McKivitz. Colton McKivitz is a free agent at the end of the year. He has, unlike Jauan, who has a contract and just decided to sit out all summer, and you can say he's got an injured calf, but his social media indicates that it's more than the calf. So, and by the way, if he's got if the Niners are not lying to us, and he's got a real calf injury, you're now giving extra money to a receiver who
calf's a scary word because of what we saw in the NBA, by the way.
But wait a second. He's had the calf since March.
Yeah, calf's a scary word. Calf's a scary word because I'm just going to run down these.
Scarier word. Achilles.
Well, that's okay. I was going to run down these names, Larry. Anybody want to type in news right now on Damian Lillard? Okay, I mean, type in that name and see what happens in regards to a calf injury.
All the more reason not to sign him.
Game 7 of the NBA Finals, what happened to a calf injury in that game as well? We had 3 significant, and Jason Tatum, 3 significant injuries in the NBA playoffs that were calf injuries that became Achilles. So that's absolutely brutal when you hear that. And if that's the case, or is this we're saying calf because he's not going to be on the field and we'd rather answer fewer questions about the contract and let's make it about injury? I mean, there's that possibility also, right?
I'm just saying you're saying pay.
And of course, Halliburton's the other name that I didn't say out loud. So Halliburton, Dame Lillard, Halliburton, and Tatum all were calf injuries turned Achilles. So just watch that.
All the more reason not to pay. Why would you pay a guy an extension if you thought he was going to blow out his Achilles?
It's brutal, and history in another sport tells you watch out. But I still, again,
there's you can't make these decisions in a vacuum, because what happens is you got chemistry issues. Your offensive line is going to lose their S if you reward the guy who sat out training camp for the guy who went to every single practice, blood, sweat, and tears, and battled on the line of scrimmage.
But let me disagree.
Let me right tackle, and you're going to say, nope, we're not going to take care of you. You're going to take your diva wide receiver who sat it out, and you're saying, yeah, we'll take care of you.
The leverage,
there will be repercussions.
There's leverage for Jennings right now, and right now only. You're talking about Ayuk and Demarcus Robinson not starting the season. His leverage is right now. He's got the chemistry with Purdy.
If it has leverage.
And Debo. Think about this from last season, right? I mean, not that Robinson was here.
The Niners have no third tackle. He's got better leverage than JJ.
This all changes. This changes in the end zone, Larry. The whole conversation changes for an organization. If you're in the end zone, if you're making Brock Purdy a better quarterback, no one gives a shit anymore.
You don't think that the tackles make the?
Of course I do.
The only time Patrick Mahomes lost a Super Bowl is when he didn't have his starting tackles.
Yeah. Yes.
Patrick Mahomes just lost the Super Bowl last year. He got sacked 9 times.
Yeah, and
so
Tooney's
and line matters. I think McKivitz has more leverage than JJ. He's just not using it against the team.
This is an opportunity. In my estimation, for the Niners to make this right, and it's because it's just a need, Larry. This is just that they're in a bad spot at this position, and I don't know that any of the names we threw out there today, if you're going to stay with the present time and not roll it back 2 years ago, is there a name that we said today that makes it better? Is there one, and can you solve the one Jennings? If Jennings is out, do you solve it with one other guy, or do 3 other guys make that right? I don't know that I don't know that there was a name that came out.
I don't think first of all, I think Jennings is a good but not great player. The stats show that. He's had 1 year. Before that,
but it was last year. But it was last year in a situation that looks similar to this year.
And his career high before that was 416 yards receiving.
But opportunity.
Okay, Sam, where do you think he ranks? Go ahead. Where does he rank in the NFL?
Exactly where he sits right now from a money standpoint. How about that, Larry? I agree with that. I just think leverage changes the conversation. I think he's exactly slotted where, from a money standpoint, he's where he is. He's not, but
what's his leverage?
His leverage is that he's WR1 for the first time in his life. That's his leverage. He's WR1 right now.
He is.
He's WK1, WR1. He's week 1 wide receiver 1 right now.
He hasn't practiced in a month. He's today. If he shows up today, week 1, Ricky Pearsall will be wide receiver 1.
Are we excited about that?
He's a first round pick. He's had a great summer. He's practiced all summer. He's not there for himself. I mean, he's Jauan Jennings signed a contract last year. Honor your commitments. I mean, what kind of message is that? If you rip up his contract, first of all, you're in this position because of the terrible precedent you set with Ayuk. Now you're going to double down on it?
It's not doubling down. That mistake forces you now.
So when does it end?
You need Jauan Jennings.
You need I mean, I'm just saying you're creating more problems that you can't. Hope is not a plan. So hoping that the rest of the locker room doesn't get pissed that JJ gets rewarded for not showing up while McKivitz doesn't get rewarded for showing up, I think that's going to have negative repercussions. As far as his leverage, I think your leverage is also about your duration with the team. He's a free agent at the end of the year. He's got 17 games of leverage. That's it. Yeah, I mean, I understand why he's doing it, but it doesn't seem like it's going to work. And he's not really willing. I don't think he's really willing to work with the Niners, which is why a deal hasn't gotten done. He just wants more money in the present. He still wants to be a free agent in March.
What if you had that conversation with him? Now, Larry, just and I know we're going to wrap soon, but I wanted to say this. What if you change the temperature in the room here for Jennings and you say, you know what? Let's just fast forward it. You're going to be a free agent. Let's do the deal now. What if you just put it on the table? Let's you know what? Let's just do it now. Let's lock it up now.
They don't want to do that. They're not going to sign him as a free agent. They don't want to do it. Sam, it's done. They've already done it. They've already paid. They paid their receiver $30 million and he's hurt. They're not going to pay another receiver big money. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before, but I don't think so. I don't think they're going to pay him. I don't think they should pay him. I don't think he's worth paying. I really don't.
Kittle's an interesting part of this. We should mention the name. We should at least say it out loud. Kittle's a pretty big piece of this, and just because it doesn't say WR next to his name, we shouldn't change it. You're right. I mean, Kittle's a pretty massive piece.
What if Jordan Watkins balls out?
Hope is not a plan, Larry.
I'm saying you have him on your team. What if any of your other guys ball out? I mean,
you've got more confident tape in Jennings than anybody else.
I'm just saying. He's got a contract for $7.5 million. He is like the 44th receiver being paid. He might be the 38th best receiver in the game. He wants to be paid north of $20 million, according to Tim Kawakami, who's the Niners are leaking through Tim Kawakami these days. So, I mean, come on. I mean, that's
it's a series of events. Let's just go timeline. Okay.
$20 million.
This is my last point. Timeline is this. Debo traded. Ayuk, we understood. We're going to say week 6 Ayuk. Robinson suspension. So that changes the temperature dramatically. Those 3 sentences lead to this becoming an absolute must take care of it. Have to address it right now. Season starts September 7th. What are we doing?
These decisions, if you could make decisions in a vacuum, that'd be one thing, but you can't. And because everything that you do sets precedent for everything else. So you can't make illogical moves just because of situational stuff. And
by the way, Jacoby Myers wants money, Larry. Jacoby Myers, the reason he wants out is he wants money
from the Niners.
So okay, so Jacoby Myers almost take off the list. Basically the same situation.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, he showed up, Sam. He's practicing. He's there.
But he wants money. Yeah, but he's basically there to say, "Where's my money?"
Okay, but I mean, the Niners aren't necessarily going to give him that money either. I'm just saying, and I'm not saying they should, but this is an interesting one here, by the way. No, not that. Let's see, this thing's moving here so fast. Jaguars have released Javon Foster.
Oh,
this is an interesting one. He was an offensive tackle from Missouri. He was in the draft last year. We shall see. That's an interesting offensive lineman. I just, I just don't think it works. I don't think it works. Let's hit some supers before we jet. We're
by the way, Spencer. Yeah, Spencer. Yeah, good for us. This is pretty solid. This is a good lift, Larry. Spencer Rattler is the quarterback in New Orleans. By the way, he's QB1. That has been announced.
Which I'll be there. I'll be there in New Orleans. Kev and I are going to New Orleans in week 2.
That's awesome. You've been, right, Larry? You've obviously been. Right?
Oh, I've been many times. Kev's never been.
Oh, dude. Okay, so Kevin had, without question. I mean, yeah, he's got to eat a po' boy, but it's the beignets. I still think of all the single bites I've had in a city that I can't get it somewhere else. Duplicating beignets from Cafe Du Monde, I still think is my number 1 in New Orleans. And my mom's from there, and my parents met at LSU, so I've done a lot of time. I think Du Monde is the one bite, and barbecue shrimp, because you think in your mind what it's going to be, but barbecue shrimp in New Orleans is a totally different dish. It's outstanding, but the beignets for sure.
Did I ever tell you my beignet story?
No, please. I'm ready for any beignet story.
This is unbelievable. First of all, New Orleans is an incredible town. My son, I love him. He's only 23. He's pretty young, right? So I notice, when we go places and I order drinks, a lot of times he'll order what I order.
That's great.
Because he's just like, that's good, right, Dad? And so it's like, I'll order, a Stoli Greyhound or something. He'd be like, I'll have a Stoli Greyhound. I'm like, do you like grapefruit juice and vodka? He's like, oh, yeah. I ordered a Sierra Nevada off the tap the other day at some tap house, and he's like, I'll get a Sierra Nevada. It's kind of cute.
It's great.
But I'm fired up to bring him to New Orleans. But so I went to New Orleans. I'm partying in the quarter. This is during the Niners Super Bowl against the Ravens, Harbaugh Bowl. All right. We were there for the whole week. All right. So, and my show was 9 a.m. to noon Pacific, which was 11.
Well, that's 11 Central Time, 11. Okay.
11 to 2 Central, which I have to admit is the absolute greatest time. If you want to party in New Orleans, and you have to work, and you only have a 3-hour shift, you want it to be 11 a.m. till 2 p.m.
Pretty solid, Larry.
It's perfect, because you can drink all night. You can do whatever you want. All right. And we did. So I go out with the great Chris Townsend.
Oh, yes. Townie.
Okay.
Of course.
We're in the quarter. We're talking to a bunch of people. We're drinking shots. I forget. We're going from place to place. I lose Townie.
Are you on Bourbon? I mean, I'm assuming you're on Bourbon Street.
Down on Bourbon Street. I lose Townie. Now I'm by myself. And it's like 4:30, 4:40 in the morning.
It's pretty good. Solid night for you.
Okay, yeah. So I'm ready to call it a night, right? It's 4:45. We didn't even go out till 10, but it's 4.
When you see them cleaning Bourbon, which they have to do every night, it's time to go. It's time to head home. Yeah. It's time to go.
Washing, the vomit. But New Orleans actually smelled really good that week, because they went and New Orleans paid for a Disneyland level cleanup.
It was pretty solid. It was great. It was. What a beautiful week.
Amazing. Yeah. I read the paper, because we got there a week early. the mayor of New Orleans had paid for like millions of dollars for the city to be cleaned up. And then 10 days before the Super Bowl, he walked through the quarter and was like, it's filthy. And they're like, well, sir, we already spent $2 million or whatever on the cleanup. And he's like, I don't care. This isn't good enough. And they went and they signed up for what they call Disneyland level cleanup.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Which is almost like you can eat food off the ground. Disneyland level cleanup. Okay, so anyway, we're in the quarter, 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30, 4:45, whatever. I lose Townie. It's just me. I realize I only have like $25 on me, and so I'm like, okay, no big deal. The hotel's like maybe a mile and a half away, but I'm not sure what direction. So I don't want to get into a cab, because I just don't want to get into a cab. I see those guys in the quarter with the bikes.
Oh, the rickshaw. The
rickshaws, yeah. And the guy's like, hey, man, where are you staying? I'm like, we're staying at the Hampton Inn. Can you take me there? And I'm like, and he's like, yeah, absolutely. Get in. And I go, bro, let me just tell you the deal. Before I get in, I have $25 to my name. I don't have anything else. So I don't have a penny more. It's just me. So if we can't do this for $25
right
with the tip, then if you want to tell me to go screw myself, that's fine. Because I don't want you to get mad at the end when I hand you $25. All I have is $25. Do you understand me? Right. You guys like, yeah, I got you. He's like kind of Cajun and Creole.
It's great. Love it.
All kinds of broken kind of.
Yep. Love it.
I get in the back. We start driving. He goes, hey, have you gotten a beignet from Cafe Du Monde?
Yes.
And I said, no, not yet. And he's like, oh, you got to get some beignet. You got to, all this Cajun.
And it's a good time, by the way. It's a good time.
Beignet. And he's like, we'll stop at Cafe Du Monde. We'll get some beignets. I'm like, bro, did you not hear what I just said?
$25. Yeah, are you buying?
$25.
Are you buying the beignets? Yeah, are you buying the beignets also?
I go $25 is all I got. Unless you want to unless you can take me to an ATM. I go so he goes, that's all right. I got you.
Wow.
Okay, so now
you met the greatest rickshaw driver. Wow. And I wonder if he's going to get you some coffee with chicory. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
I'm a little nervous, right? So now we stop off at Cafe Du Monde. He runs in.
Wow.
As he's inside, the sky's open. It starts to rain.
Wow. I do remember that it rained that week.
Starting to rain. And it's New Orleans rain, so it's hot, still sticky and hot, but it's rain. It's February, so it's not humid. It's not super cold, but it's not cold, but it's not hot. It was just mild weather, but it's raining. Not a big deal. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm drunk as a skunk. What do I care?
Perfect.
Guy comes out. He's got a bag. I can see the bag, and I can see the bag. It's a white bag, and you can see like light coming through the top of the bag. But so the whole rest of the bag's packed, and I'm like, Jesus, what is it? What is that? And he hands me the bag, and it smells incredible. It's warm on the bottom, and he's like, "That's the powdered sugar." So they put powdered sugar. They put an entire bag of powdered sugar.
This much powdered sugar on top, right?
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
Tons.
Yeah.
Like, so much powdered sugar. So I'm like, oh, it smells great, man. But then I'm a little worried because he did pay for it, and he's like insisting that I have it. And I don't know that this is Cafe Du Monde. I'm not really sure what he did to it. I'm a little paranoid, but at the same time, I'm trying.
Dude, it's 4:45 a.m. You might not be making your best decisions anyway, right?
Right. But I didn't want to go down and just, I didn't want to, but whatever. I just said, then he goes, hey, you got to eat it now. I go, I'll eat it when I get back to the hotel.
No, the bag is hot.
You got to eat it now.
No, the bag is hot.
I go, really? He goes, oh yeah. And I'm hungry anyway. So he didn't have to, it didn't take a lot of convincing. So now I reach in, there's 2 square beignets in the bottom. And I reach down, I grab one, take it out. It's all covered in powdered sugar. Take a bite. I'm like, oh, that is so freaking good. That is amazing. I'm like, you want the other one, man? Come on. He's like, no, man, I have them all the time. That's for you. That's for you. Welcome to New Orleans. Welcome to New Orleans. And so I power down that one. I power down the second one. I'm like, that was awesome. Absolutely awesome. Now it's 20 minutes later, we get to the front of the Hampton Inn.
So good.
Okay.
So good.
And I see a flight crew walking out. To,
wow.
It looks like because they're getting for an early morning flight. So they're walking out. And as I'm walking into the hotel, the flight crew goes like this, Sammy. They go like this to me. They go. And then I walk into the hotel, and the guy who's vacuuming the hotel goes like this. And then I look over at the lady behind the counter at the concierge, and she looks at me and she's like, "Are you okay, sir?" Now she says, "Are you okay?" I go, "I'm fine." Been out at the quarter. She's like, "Looks like you had a good time." I'm like, "What? Yeah, it was a good time." So I have no idea what the hell's going on.
Oh, this is great.
I get upstairs to my hotel room.
Get a mirror, Larry. Get a mirror.
I walk into the bathroom. Dude, it looked like a powdered sugar bomb went off.
Scarface.
And the epicenter was my mouth. And it was like up here, here, in my hair, white, powder everywhere. It looks like I had the worst cocaine binge.
Scarface in the plate, in the entire plate.
It was like Scarface 2. It was like Scarface 2. I mean, I got it all everywhere. I'm like, oh my God, dude. Look at me. And it was the combination of the wind in the rickshaw,
but the rain stuck it too.
The rain, the wind, the powdered sugar. I was a powdered sugar bomb mess.
Looks like you had a good time. And you're thinking, I did. I just had 2 amazing beignets, but you had no idea. They also thought that you were hanging out with Escobar all night. That is incredible, Larry. You gotta put Kevin through that. He has to dive in and crush the powdered sugar and the beignets. That's the number one move for me. So I'm glad you had it. You had the full experience.
Sammy, get this. Guess what we're doing? Not only are we going to Niners Saints week 2, the night before, we've got tickets for Florida LSU in
Baton Rouge.
Stadium.
In Baton Rouge, and again,
Baton Rouge. We're gonna take
is it at night? Is that at night? Is it a night game? Oh, dude, that's the experience.
National
that's
TV.
It. Dude, that is the experience. The fact that you're doing Death Valley at night, and
we're gonna go in the daytime. I told them we got to go for the tailgaters.
Yes.
I'm a former Lambda Chi. They have a Lambda Chi house there. I go. We'll go to their parties. We'll drink beers. We'll go to Tiger Stadium. We'll sweat our asses off. Then we'll come back the next morning for Niners Saints. All right,
that's an epic trip. That's great.
This has been an epic stream. We have 2,800 people in the room. Let's do this. Let's hit our supers because we have 21 supers.
It's pretty amazing.
A lot of supers. And by the way, thanks to all of you guys for
this has been awesome.
For your donations. We probably should tell you as well, thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. We're also brought to you by Claw Daddy Arcades. They're a great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades. Locations in Capitola Mall and Visalia Mall opening later on this year. And thanks to Sharp Corners, Sports Cards and Collectibles. If you follow me on X at Sports Larry K, I put out a video last night of Sharp Corners. They did a TV story on it down in the Monterey Peninsula. And so I put that out on social media. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove along the Monterey Peninsula in Central California. Anthony Catania is the owner. He's at 831-521-5264. And he's a great follow on Instagram at Sharp Corners 831 on the gram. All right. Let's hit the supers.
Let's do it. That's going to be tough to top that story, by the way, Larry. The beignet story is pretty outstanding. I would say you and Kev with a picture of both of you after going into the plate would be kind of amazing.
By the way, my one advice to New Orleans, my buddy who's scout for the Saints, who I stayed with when I was covering the Saints in Metairie, Louisiana, another sweaty place.
For sure.
Said to me, "Hey, you're coming to New Orleans for the Super Bowl?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Make sure you don't get screwed on the prices." And I go, "I know, man. I've been to New Orleans." I go, "It's probably the closest economy to a barter economy in the entire country." And he's like, "Absolutely." He goes, you know how to handle yourself, right?" I said, "What? How?" And he goes, "Just every time somebody tells you the price, just repeat it back to them and sound indignant, and then you'll get the real price."
Amazing.
Dude, Sammy, I was in the Hampton Inn in the lobby. I was getting a newspaper, a Coke, and some peanuts. And I was on the phone. And the guy goes, that's $1,750. And I go, $1,750? He goes, I'm sorry, sir, $750. $750. Sammy, if I told you that happened once, it happened 20 times. Sir, that's going to be $3,250. $3,250? Oh, I'm sorry, sir. It's $1,250.
Amazing.
Always like in real round.
That is an outstanding piece of advice.
Yeah. So repeat. If you ever go to New Orleans, big convention, barter economy. A lot of people there they'll get what they can get. So you get a price that you think's way too crazy. Repeat it back and just what? And then you'll get the real price. All right, here we go. Carlos Niners 94. Good morning, Larry. Good insights. I enjoy your daily updates. Thank you. Thank you, Carlos. MSQ, will you guys be live until 1 p.m.? At this rate, we might be. Now we're going to go just till the bottom of the hour. I will probably go live again at 1 p.m.
When it's all said and done.
And do some kind of a recap video or some kind of a live video. So we will do something after it's all wraps. But Sammy and I are already been going for over 2. Jake Moody. Oh, Sammy, you only had an hour.
It's all right. The point, I mean, we were doing it, and I felt committed also because the cuts were coming in. There was really some cool shit happening. So, all
right, we're on 3,000 people here. Jake Moody, I'm still that guy. Everyone, let's be serious. Shador Sanders in the house. Sign my brother Shiloh.
Shiloh, yeah, it's true. Shiloh.
Mason Davis. I thought Jasheen Davis was really good at Wake. I did too. Defensive end. He got cut today by the Saints, I believe. That's another guy to be checking out. Luis Madera drafting Junior Bergen over Nick Nash will haunt the Niners. Nick Nash from San Jose State, Sammy. They took Junior Bergen over Willie Lampson and Nick Nash. Oh, my God. MSQ, I know Krug is dying for JJ to get traded, LOL. No, I don't have I don't have like a skin in the game. Like, I don't really care like on that level. I just don't see a solution. Like, I don't think I would rip up his contract, and I don't think I would extend him long term. So that's the only solution.
Here's the problem with the trade. So McLaurin just got his money, and there's not another team out there that needs him as bad as the Niners, right? Couldn't you argue that? Is there a team that needs him, Jauan Jennings, more than the Niners? If they say the Niners don't need him, that's fine. But is there a team that needs him more than the Niners? I don't think so at all.
It's not about that. It's about, is there a team that has the cap timing and flexibility? I mean, would it be smart for the 49ers to pay another injured player? I mean, if you want to tell me the Niners are totally BSing us about the calf, I might consider an extension. Why would I ever consider an extension with a guy who's had a calf injury since March when calf injuries can escalate to Achilles? Why? I mean, I'm waiting. I don't think there's a real good reason to sign him. Carlos Niners 94. JJ needs to be traded or put on the pup list. MSQ. Almost everyone except Krug is team JJ. LOL.
You're making good points. I mean, I am team JJ, but you're making fair points about, I mean, again, it's not our money, so it's tough sometimes to argue against the team spending money, but it's a worthy conversation. And I agreed with you on the most important point. He's slotted from a financial standpoint exactly where his play meets the other players in this league. It's not a lot of room for him to say, I'm so much better than the guys that are around me from a cash flow standpoint.
It's just about your structure of the team for me. If they had told Ayuk no and traded him, then I'd be all about signing JJ. But they didn't. They paid him, and you can't pay everybody. Gold Tau, over under combined games for Trent and CMC. I'll say for Trent, over under would be 14 games. For CMC, I'll put it at 12.
I was going to say 10 for Trent. I
missed 7 last year, which was his career high.
I know. I'm rooting for Trent. I mean, I was a Jason Peters guy, obviously, with the Eagles, and it feels the most similar to that situation. Jason Peters at the end was gutting it out there. He actually missed their Super Bowl run in 2017, but still had a lot left on the table. Trent's similar in that standpoint. I mean, Trent Williams, you could argue at some point was the best player in the league. I mean, Trent Williams is that dominant at that position.
He would have played. I mean, just so people know, I mean, he would have played last year, the last 4 or 5 games.
Didn't matter.
If it mattered, yeah. He missed 7 games, but in reality, the people around the team know he really missed like 2, and then they just were out of it. Silent says, be honest, Jennings is mid. You don't pay mid. That's well said. Joseph Ernberg, Niners will have the worst wide receiver room in the league.
They have it right now.
Yeah, right now.
They have it right now.
There are some guys out there that can help them for sure. Raheem Jarrett comes to mind. I mean, that's the guy that I think they ought to go after, amongst others. Joseph Ernberg, if Jennings is your wide receiver 1, you're in a terrible spot.
News, the Niners are in a terrible spot.
Tommy Black, the 49ers to trade JJ to make a statement. JJ is out of line. Also, Sammy, JJ is not wide receiver 1. Terrible take. Well, no,
here, wait, time out. I'm just going to go.
Wide receiver 1 now.
Yeah, I'm just going to. How about this? Why don't we do this here? Say he's not wide receiver 1. Okay, here we go. Niners depth chart. Care to guess who's on there? Ayuk is listed as out. So, and then they list 2 lines of wide receiver, right? So Ayuk out. Demarcus Robinson suspended. Then you got Watkins and Robbie Chosen on one line. The next line, Jauan Jennings is the first name. Jauan Jennings is wide receiver 1. So that's just reality on looking up the Niners right now.
Here's the thing. In the 1 year where Jauan actually was wide receiver 1 last year, the Niners won 6 games and they were 32nd in the league in wide receiver separation.
It's fair.
You can't pay that guy. You can't pay, or, you want to give him a minor little incentives this year, some nothing little bump.
Sweetener, as we call it. Sweetener.
But I would not change the base on his salary. I would not extend him. And if somebody wants him, I would trade him. Steven Draper, what yards? Wide receiver can carry 4 defenders 5 yards. He did, and JJ did that in probably his greatest play. MSQ, Sam is right, Krug. JJ is wide receiver 1 in my book and almost was Super Bowl MVP, and McKivitz is not. JJ, come
on. He's probably saying, come on, Krug.
Come on, Krug. Krug switched up on Debo, and now JJ. It was JJ. If JJ, no, come on. That's stupid.
And by the way, Debo, I would say this much. Debo is worthy of switching an opinion on. And I worked with a guy, Colin Cowherd, for years. One of my favorite statements from Colin. This happened in the room more than it did on the air, but let's not be right. Let's get it right. So you understand what that statement is? And it applies to a lot in life. So just because you have an opinion of something, if what you then see over the course of the next few months or years tells you that your opinion is a little less correct, why not then get it right? So you can say Debo's amazing. I mean, Debo last season, there was no greater mystery than whether or not Debo was going to be on the field last season. I mean, that was a rough campaign for Debo. 2024 is very forgettable.
MSQ, let me just say this so everybody can hear it. You're a jackass. My ball, Zach Ertz. Dante Johnson is available too.
Deontay, but yeah, we said it.
Deontay. Joseph Ernberg. MSQ is JJ's burner account. MSQ's one more comment like that away from being cut out of the group show, and I will do it, and I have done it. Corey Patterson, I've always wondered if and how often teams subvert the cap with the under the table kind of deals. Seems like now with things like crypto, it'd be easy. Not advocating. I don't know that anything is easy when it comes to hiding funds. No question about that. Is MSQ, is Corley the guy Krug to replace Debo?
Interesting.
Corley is not been good in the NFL thus far, but that's the kind of player that I think they ought to look at. He's a young, ascending player. Usually second-year receivers make a huge leap forward. It's possible he's not NFL, but that's a guy that I would absolutely look at. He's got a lot of similar capabilities to Debo. Gold Tau, drive-through daiquiris. Wow, New Orleans.
That's great, New Orleans, yes.
David E. Sebastian Valdez cut. Was he?
MVS? Yes.
No. No.
Oh, sorry.
No.
No. Okay, sorry. I thought it was. Oh, wow. Let me just check it out. Check that.
If Sebastian Valdez was cut, man, that would be very, very disappointing. Let me see. Yes.
There it is. Yep.
Sebastian Valdez cut.
Just happened.
Wow. Unbelievable. They cut Sebastian Valdez. This guy has had an incredible camp. He for sure is gone. Somebody will definitely pick up him off waivers. One of those teams, that they just practiced against. I mean, Denver or the Raiders. I would imagine Denver saw him and will be like, oh, we'll take that guy. That one is disappointing. Sanja Leary says if he underperformed, would he give them some money back? No. Honor the contract. Otherwise, everyone can ask for a pay raise after a great year, and they will be screwed. Don't do it, Niners. I mean, the counter to this, Sanja, is, hey, look, if you have a bad year, you get cut in the NFL, and there's no guaranteed contracts. And I get it. That's true. That's why you sign multi-year deals. That's why you get bonus money. So yeah, there's no guaranteed contracts for a lot of guys in the NFL. It's a pay-to-play situation. If you're good, you keep playing. If you don't, you get cut. And the only guaranteed money is the bonus money. So
I bet Sanja is Sonia, by the way. I'm going to say maybe that could be Sonia Leary. Could be. By the way, another thing before we go, I know I got to jump here, but Larry, one thing when we're talking about kicker and Moody, et cetera, one to keep out for. I can't pronounce his name, but the Browns now have a new kicker. So Dustin Hopkins is available. He was cut. Really? And the guy that is kicking for them does not have a vowel in his name. SMZYT, I believe is his name. So I'm just not even going to go there, but that's the kicker that they've liked. He kicked for them in their last game too, and he was very good. But Hopkins, who certainly kicked for the Browns very well, is out.
That's interesting. Tommy Blacks is Pearsall's wide receiver 1. MSQ is an effing idiot. OT. MSQ, I am in the wrong. I'm sorry to everyone, and to you especially, Krug. I was inappropriate with my statement and regret saying it.
Krug, I may need you to come to the house and talk to Levi. That's a quick turnaround there. That's behavior that is corrected.
MSQ's been in the thing for a while, dude, and it really disappointed me when I saw that. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
No, it was garbage.
This guy digests hours and hours and hours of me. Come on, man. I mean, let's be real. I mean, I am harsh. I am direct, and I am myself, but I love all people. Sammy, I'll give you the final word, man. Over 3,000 people in this stream, almost 1,600 on YouTube on my side. Lots and lots of people watching on both sides. Give a shout out to you and Siciliano's YouTube channel. Tell people.
Thanks so much,
If everybody could hit like and subscribe, that would be awesome. It just helps more people find our shows in the algorithm. And if you could hit that notification bell, anytime we go live, you'll be notified. But Sammy, fire away. Give a plug for your channel. I know you got a great channel, and you're just getting started, and we're fired up for you. So,
well, Larry, thank you so much, man. This is great. At Thinking Out Loud, Siciliano and Sam. At Thinking Out Loud, Siciliano and Sam is where you can catch all of these great takes, these shows that I'm on with Larry. I hang out with Damon, and of course, Siciliano, and I have episodes that you can get on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. But at Thinking Out Loud, Siciliano and Sam is where you can find all of this great content. Like and subscribe there. And thanks, Larry. It's awesome to do these with you and to share the audience this way. And the fact that everyone's been with us today for what is certainly an interesting day, newsworthy, but it's pretty awesome to be here and to run through it with you and to be able to give everybody a take as it's happening. Nothing's harder in the world than reacting, as these things are happening. You don't have a lot of time to sit and marinate on it. And it's fun. I'm glad everyone in the chat has been really interactive with it today also.
Seriously, thanks to everybody. Niner fan 57, Valdez being cut is a terrible move. On that note, I totally agree, but we'll finish right there. I will be doing some more stuff later on today. Niners Nightly is on the YouTube channel tonight at 6 p.m. The great Raj Melwani is going to stop by, who we stream with on Tuesday nights. Sammy, have a great rest of your Tuesday. Thanks to everybody. Hit like and subscribe. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle, the title sponsor of the Krug Show, and we are out.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful.